we believe that if we're to increase the number of the academic staff with PhD, that will also deal with some of the backlogs that we're having around the availability of supervision at master's and PhD. Now, around 2017, the NRF started a conversation around how do we make sure that we fund students sufficiently. And part of that conversation was, for the NRF, we were having what we call the ministerial guidelines, in which when we were making the awards, we were always looking at these guidelines in us saying we have to be able to fund an X number of black student, female student, international student, and so on and so forth. But we saw that it was not sufficient. There were quite a number of things that were lacking. And in my following slide, I will highlight where those issues are. But in formulating this policy, the principles of equity of opportunity in relation to access, success, throughput rate, and representativity were adopted. And these principles are underpinned by the pursuit of research excellence in all its dimensions. Now, as part of the desktop study and a number of conversations that we had with all the 26 universities, including your public research institutions, your science councils, and your national facilities, what we noted was there is low progression of, there are low progression rates, honors to masters, and also masters to PhD. And I think in the opening remark by the DVC, also lamented to this issue of the low progression rate. So these are some of the things that we had picked up. Very alarming is we also noticed this long-term to completion and at a very advanced stage of completion. And as Professor Moton had indicated, what you then find is that for the students in the natural sciences, you will mostly find students that are doing full-time studies, and they will be younger. But when you go to the social science and humanities, it's older people, married, and it takes them a little bit longer for them to complete. So this is not a blanket statement that then says all the students across all the disciplines, they take long to complete. But when you zoom into those various disciplines, you will see points of divergence. One of the things was the transformation of the PG cohort at master's and doctoral level. These are some of the things that we needed to deal with, meaning that there was underrepresentativity of black people and also an underrepresentativity of female students. Most alarming was the fact that the bursary values were not comprehensive and they were not adequate to cover full cost of study. And the funding for financially needy students at all postgraduate levels is not something that was really thought through. And also, there were lack of policy synergy between NRF and NSFAS. In an ideal world, what you want is you want NSFAS to fund your undergraduate students, and when they complete their undergraduate studies, you want the NRF to be able to pick those students up so that there is a continuation of funding, particularly for the students that are regarded as the so-called financially needy students. Now, this slide will show you, for instance, in 2017 when we were doing this, when we started developing the policy, you will see that the NRF scholarship was 60,000, 90,000, and 120,000 for honors, masters, and PhD, respectively. But when you compare this, for instance, with NSFAS undergraduate, then they were getting around 150,000. ISFEP was around 150. SKA was also around 120. CSIR was around 160,000. And if you go to masters and PhD, you will see that CSIR was giving substantially more than what the NRF was doing. And this was much more pronounced also when we looked broadly from the other funding agencies. Now, these are some of the things that necessitated that we then start this new policy that was respond to some of these challenges. Now, with the introduction of this new policy, what will be some of the key successful factors that we will be looking at. One, we are hoping that we will then see PhD students who are going to be funded without interruption all the way to PhD. This means that if you start being funded by the NRF at an honors level, we will pick you up at masters, we will pick you up again at PhD. But obviously, this is not just going to be an automatic thing, because everything is going to be dependent on the availability of funding. Now, let me just give you a very practical example, because you might be one of the students who was funded either at honors, and then at masters you were not funded, or you were funded at masters, but at PhD somehow you were not funded. Now, here is a practical example. If the NRF only has money to fund 10 students, and in year one, and 2021, let's say for instance, is year one, and we have money to fund 10 students. So we fund 10 honors students. And in year two, which is 2022, we also have the provision of funding only 10 students. Now, one of the things that we then grapple with is, if we say we want to fund students without interruption, do we fund the other 10 that we funded last year and have no new introduction of students coming into the system? Now, we might as well just make that decision, but when the NRF makes that decision, the impact of it is that there are researchers out there who might have students that are entering at a master's level, at a PhD level. So we need to make provision for different cohorts to enter during and at the different timelines of what we want to do. So it's possible that how the model was then developed, it was developed such that we said 50% of the honors students, we will fund them without interruption to masters, and then masters 30% to PhD. This is just so that we can manage the number of students that are coming in the system. For instance, we are going to prioritize full-time studies and not fund part-time studies. We also want to reduce the doctoral completion to about age of under 35. The benefit, colleagues, of if we were to have doctoral students that are qualifying at an early age of 35, is we are going to have, or rather we are going to witness a situation where they are going to be productive in the system for a long period of time. I'm not saying that if you graduate at age 50 for a PhD, you're not going to be productive. But the rewards that certainly we are going to reap will be that if we're to have someone getting their PhD at an early age, chances of them being productive for a long period of time in the system are enhanced. And also, one of the things that we have to contend with, it's the fact of we have funding constraints. And in the next slides, I will then show you exactly as to where this picture is at. We also want to develop this pipeline. If you're funded by NSFAS, we should be able to pick you up at Postgraduate. We have already developed the fit for purpose financial packages for postgrad students. We also want to prioritize financially needy students, students living with disability, and also your exceptional academic achievers, whom we will fund at full cost of study. And 95% of the awards will be allocated to South African citizens and permanent residents, meaning only 5% will go to international students. 90% and 55% of the awards will be allocated to South African black and female students, respectively. When it comes to transformation, we cannot beat around it. We must be intentional. We must make sure that black people participate and female students also participate in the space that we're in. As I've mentioned also, we want to bring this alignment of the undergrad and the postgrad student. Now, in terms of the eligibility criteria, if you want to apply for funding next year, you will either be considered for one of the two options, full cost of study and partial cost of study. For the NRF, first price, we always want to fund all the students that we can fund as the NRF at full cost of study, because the benefits are there. Particularly for black students, because majority of them, historically, if you give them partial cost of study, they're not going to go to an uncle or a grandmother or a brother or a sister who will be able to top them up so that they can equalize them. So we try by all necessary means. And we are even targeted in our approach, where we will say, like for instance, this is an open book. If you go to UCT, for instance, if you are to be funded by UCT, and then they discover that the funding that they have given you is not sufficient to cover all your needs, you can apply for an additional funding that will top you up. This is not the reality that you find across all the universities. That's why, for instance, for us, the first prize is always to fund our students at full cost of study. And what we are then proposing with the model that we have is that if you enter at an honors level and you are funded at partial cost of study, and when you go to your master's, you then meet the conditions of full cost of study, we will convert your scholarship to full cost of study. If you enter at honors and you meet the conditions of full cost of study, when you go to master's and you don't meet the conditions of full cost of study, we will take you back to partial cost of study until such a time that you are able to go up. So the model is built such that there is flexibility to move students in and around where we want to place them. In terms of eligibility, honor students, we only fund South African citizens and permanent residents. For master's, doctoral, upgrade, as well as extension support, we consider all the students, including international students. Again, as I've mentioned, in terms of age, this is an ideal scenario for the NRF, where we want to be. If you're going to apply for honors, at the time of application, 28, honors 30, and doctoral 32. In an ideal world, an honors student must complete 1 year, master's 2 years, PhD 3 years, but we know that this is not always ideal. But this is where we want to get to. In terms of the implementation of this policy, as I've mentioned, these are the targets that the NRF is working with, and these are the bursary or scholarship values where we fund students at full cost and partial cost of study. You will see that at full cost of study, we make provision for electronic study device as well as the maximum assistive technology device for students with disability. However, at partial cost of study, we don't make provision for these two allowances. As I've mentioned, the reason why we have this, ideally, we want to have all the applicable and eligible students being funded at full cost of study. Now, one of the things in 2021, we got a question from the portfolio committee. The son of one of the CEOs was being funded by the NRF, and the question to the NRF then was that, how come the NRF is funding a son of a CEO who can afford tertiary education for this particular student? Now, one of the things that we then grappling with was that maybe, so that we don't discourage this particular student, we can make funding provision available for that student, but we only make partial cost of study available to that student, because obviously their parents will be able to top them up. So these are some of the things, some of the hard decisions that, as the NRF, we had to grapple with. If you are funded and if you are not funded, how does the NRF make the decisions? These are some of the things that the NRF, so when you go to NOMA and you're struggling NOMA, the NRF didn't fund me, what are the reasons? These are some of the matrices that the NRF engages in and say, does the student pass this and this and this and this and this and this? And there are also other additional things that we look at. For instance, you might find that in a particular discipline, let's say for instance microbiology for instance, there might be a high from University of Zululand, there might be a high number of students in microbiology for instance. And if you look broadly across all the 26 universities, you also see that there's a high subscription of microbiology students. So what are we likely to do? We are likely to then reduce the number of students that we are going to fund under the discipline. So you might find that you are a top performing student in microbiology, but because there are so many of you in that particular discipline, and we have to then contend with the fact that We must spread across these things so that we also cover some of the critical scarcity areas. You might not be funded. It's not because we're not funding you because we don't like you, but these are some of the things that we have to contend with. Now, one of the things that is also quite critical, it's the issue of the geographical area of the applicant. One of our funders, the National Skills Fund, one of the questions that they always ask us is that, NRF, are you only funding students that are based or coming from the metropolitan areas? We have about 8 metropolitan areas, eThekwini, Nelson Mandela, East London, Tshwane, Johannesburg, Mangaung, and also Cape Town. So the question always is the NRF also being intentional in funding students that are coming from the so-called rural municipalities? Because we know, if we were to fund students that are coming from the rural municipalities, for instance, the turnover, when that student graduates, they will be able to give back to the community and then uplift that. So these are some of the things that, as the NRF, we have to contend with. Now, here are the numbers. You will see that for the 2022 academic year, we funded we received close to about 14,000 applications, and of the 14,000 applications, we only funded about 5,000 applications, and around 8,500 were not funded. These were people that we could fund if we had all the money. But unfortunately, we only had money to fund close to 5,000 students. And if you consider part of the continuing students, so this number will come to roughly about 7,000 students that are funded. But what is more interesting is the column that is titled Enrollment at the Higher Education Institutions. Now, that will show you the number of honors students that we have in the country across all the 26 universities. By the way, these numbers they exclude your private universities. So these are only the public universities. So from this, you will see that the NRF funds roughly between 3 and 3.5% of the total enrollment. Now, this really shows you how dire the situation is in terms of the funding needs out there. In terms of the demographic breakdown, about 97% of the awards were given to South African citizens, only 3% going to international students. In terms of the South African aggregate, you will see that 88% of it went to black students and 60% went to female students. Now, when we go around the different universities, you will then hear some of the students, for instance, saying, but the NRF is only funding international students, the NRF is only funding male students, the NRF is only funding white students. Remember, you might be saying that looking at the context of your university only. For the NRF, obviously, we zoom into each university, but in the end, we look at all the universities, and this is how the NRF is funding students across all the 26 universities. If you want to be successful for honors funding, what you need to do, these are the things that you need to do. Make sure that you complete your undergraduate qualification in record time, and make sure that you are in one of the priority research areas, for instance. If you want to qualify for master's funding, this is what you need to do. Make sure that I think it's the presentation that was given by I can't remember the prof's name now, spoke eloquently about the involvement of the supervisor when the student is designing their research proposal. So you have to focus on the project outline in collaboration with your research, your supervisor. If you want to get funding for PhD, this is what you need to do. It's very important that for that master's, try to get at least one publication out of it. Try to get at least 2 conference outputs, either be it oral or be it a poster presentation. If it can be international, all good and well. But try to get something out of your master's as much as you can. And what is important for that doctoral research proposal, it needs to be new knowledge. You can't go and and want to do what I researched in 2010, for instance. I mean, that stuff is not new anymore. So you have to break barriers. The originality of the doctoral study is what is important. Also, what is equally important is the potential impact of the research. We can't just do research for the fun of doing it. I mean, the NRF is a public entity, so the public will love to see the benefit out of what the NRF does. So it is also important that you articulate eloquently what the potential research of your PhD is going to be. The key expectations of the students, when we want to fund, things like, so that the NRF can, colleagues, you might think this is actually quite a silent point. Valid transactional bank account. You'll be surprised how many students, postgraduate students, do not have a valid transactional bank account. So what we are saying that if you're going to be funded by the NRF, make sure this is what you have so that money can be deposited into your account. Many speakers spoke about the memorandum of understanding that needs to be signed between the student and the supervisors. I like to see the fact that you guys are saying that you are going to place more emphasis on the student. I still feel that an MOU must be driven by the student and not by the supervisor, because at the end of the day, it's the student that wants to graduate. Obviously, the university and the supervisor have vested interest in what you are doing, but it should be the responsibility of the student to drive the MOU. Things like your regular project review, personal development meetings with your supervisor. These are some of the things that were spoken about. So those are some of the key things that the NRF is looking at. If you want to know more about these things, there is a link. A number of documents are there. I mean, some of these documents are only about 10, 15 pages. I'm sure it can take you about a few hours just to get through them. The NRF, we have designed a new platform called the NRF Connect. It's still having glitches there and there, but when those glitches come, please don't sit in your corner. Go to the research office. If they can't resolve it, then they will escalate to the NRF, and then we'll be able to resolve that for you. What is important about this slide is that for those that applied this year, you can expect the outcomes of your applications before the 23rd of December. This is for master's, PhD, as well as extension support. So if you have applied for NRF scholarship this year, you can expect the outcomes by the 23rd or the 24th of December. For honors student, again, I think we are going to experience challenges for quite some time. But the idea is we want to make those outcomes available, ideally in February. But because of just how the academic calendar is organized and the availability of the marks, you see that it tends to be prolonged. So we are budgeting anything between January and April to make those outcomes available for the honors applicants. Now, what is important after you have applied or the outcomes are out, it is important to note the following, colleagues, so that you are able to understand who must give you what and who must not give you what. After you have submitted your application, it goes to the research office. So the research office, they will screen your application. After screening your application, they will then say, it meets all the whatever. Then they move it to the next stage. If it doesn't meet all the requirements, they will stop it. The research office must then inform you and say, so and so, your application could not go any further because it lacks 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the end of it. And once it goes to the next phase, which is the review phase, it will go, I don't know how normal you guys do it here, but they will constitute a panel. I don't know whether it's organized departmentally or faculty-wise, but there will be these committees that will sit and look at your application. Now, those committees, when they come out, they will say, your application is fundable, it's recommended for funding, or it's not recommended for funding. If it's recommended for funding, it will go to the NRF. If it's not recommended for funding, they must, together with the research office, be able to give you feedback that then says, your application went through review, and we found that there were these missing things in your application. Now, that feedback is quite important because it will enable you to be able to reflect and say, this is what was lacking, this is how I fix it, so that next day you can submit a better application. Once that application goes to the NRF, it will also go through 2 or 3 stages. We will also screen that application. If we see that, yeah, sure, Norma might have missed this and whatever the case might be, we will inform you and say, no, your application lacks 1, 2, 3, so it cannot go any further. If it goes through that stage, it will then come to our office. When it comes to our office, that's where we're going to decide on the funding. If we see that it meets all the criteria and after we have done all the gymnastics, we will then fund that student. If we see that this student is eligible, but because we don't have additional budget, we then inform the applicant. If you are successful, then there will be a link where you can go and look at the outcomes and things like that. In terms of the progress reporting, the progress report is going to open in November, I think now. For those that are still funded under the previous regime, I think this will be the last cohort this year, where the progress reports are opening now. But for any other student, it's still going to continue as biannual progress reporting until such a time that we then change that. I've spoken about the Global Knowledge Partnership. That in the Global Knowledge Partnership space, what we want to do, colleagues, is we want to, especially as a PhD and a postdoc and an early career researcher, we want to make sure that we enhance your researcher training by offering you an opportunity to spend time in America under the Fulbright Foreign Student Program, or MINES, or MyTech in Canada, or DAP in Germany, or the YSSP in Vienna. But what is exciting about MINES is that MINES is only focused in the African continent. So we are encouraging Africa inter-mobility. One of the things, and I don't know how the university is dealing with this, we tend to see a movement of students going to America, UK, Australia, but we don't see movement, and then we also see movement of students from the African continent coming to South Africa, for instance. But interestingly enough, we don't see movement of South African students going to, for instance, Makerere University, going to Cairo University, going to Abuja University in Nigeria. So the MINES, under the MINES mobility program, this is what we want to do. We want to encourage movement of South African students into these top universities in Africa, for instance. Some of the general remarks, colleagues, in closing, and I think these things are out there, things that we need to start having a conversations around. We need to demystify the PhD journey and create an appreciation of the value of the doctoral qualification. We need to address the issue of the employability and the career opportunities as a PhD graduate, for instance, or as a master's graduate. We need to improve the training capacity, the quality, and the relevance of that master's or PhD. For us, people that are policymakers, those that are in government, we need to start forming public-private partnerships for funding, for training, and for employability. And additionally, things like tax incentives for the industry. How is the industry going to invest in postgraduate qualifications? I mean, you guys know this better than I do. If you look at the undergraduate, the budget that they have is around 42 billion a year. If you look at the postgraduate space, the budget that we're talking about is just under $1 billion. So you will see that there's a vast difference in terms of funding provisions for undergrad and for postgrad. Now the question is, how do we make sure that we ramp up support that is required for postgrad students? And lastly, colleagues, when we're talking about postgrad support, what are we talking about? Are we talking just about giving someone funding for research, for accommodation, for tuition fee, for this and this and this and this? Or are we looking at other additional things? For instance, the issue of wraparound support. Where is that support? The if you want to go see a psychologist, for instance, are there soft skills that you're getting on financial management? I think Prof in the morning spoke about one of the dangers when you give students more money is it also becomes a stumbling block. The fact that now all of a sudden they're exposed to money. Part of the support that we give to postgrad students and part of the wraparound support, where are those financial literacy workshops that students are attending to make sure that they understand some of these things? Colleagues, in short, thank you very much and thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ng'ang'o, for a wonderful presentation. And I know that you're in a rush, so I'm just going to open the floor for a few questions. I'll take 3 questions. I think any other questions we'll then have to see what you can. But I do not give you this opportunity because he's here. He's the right person. He's the relevant person. We requested a person who actually deals with the funding and all the pros and cons. And as you've seen in his presentation, he covered exactly what most of the postgraduate students come to the research office and ask us and feel that we are the one who are depriving them of NRF or we exclude them. So thank you very much for the wonderful presentation, and also thank you for the word for today that it's the responsibility of the student really to drive the MOU, funding, and everything else. It's on the student's part. So any questions, colleagues? He's here. So once he goes, you're not going to be asking us questions because we won't be able to respond. We know the first question. Please go ahead because of time. We know the second question. Please go ahead.
My question is, does NRF fund projects that are aligned to one's research? And also, are there any funding for entrepreneurial outputs from the research that whatever student has done? Thank you.
Can you please clarify the first question?
The first question is, do they give out funding for projects? Like if I want to start a project out of my research, or that speaks to my research.
Okay. Did you get that? Okay. Second question? There's a hand there.
Oh, okay. My question is, does NRF have money that is taken back to say if they funded a student and then once the student is done with an academic year and then they take back the money? And the second...
Can you say that? Can you repeat? And please bring a mic closer to you so you can hear, because he's writing down the notes. He can't hear you correctly.
Okay. My question is there any case where NRF says they are taking back the money? I'm asking this question because there was a case at the campus where I was trying to claim the money and then they said you cannot claim back the money, so you cannot have back the money. And the second question is, what does NRF do in terms of if there was an academic constraint, to say if there was a disturbance of academic year? So do they give you a chance, or did they still fine you if there was an interruption of an academic year?
Just the last one. Please repeat it.
Okay. I'm asking, is NRF consider you if maybe say you are applying for extension? Maybe to say if there was, just like the previous year, there was COVID. So did NRF consider those people who had an academic constraint, or maybe they were restricted to access the lab to continue with their research project?
Okay. There was another hand. Thank you very much for the question. Much appreciated. There was another hand.
Thank you. It's not so much a question, but a note. In regards to funding, I found that I know lots of people, and some even had to drop out because they would have funding, and then you find that the funding comes in very, very late, and they have accrued so many expenses from the start of registration up until the funding comes in. That does not only affect your academics, but it also affects your personal life. So what ways is NRF going to try and address that? And then also with regards to funding, seeing as that most people are disadvantaged, but some of us come from middle class families, you find that you did not have funding from NSFAS because of that. And then when you want to do postgraduate studies, some people are even discouraged to apply because they know that in the past they couldn't get funding because you told that you do not fall within a certain bracket. Whereas postgraduate fundings are very, very expensive and we do need funding. Thank you.
Did you get that question? Yeah. Thank you very much for the question. Can I take one last hand? There was a hand I saw somewhere there. Okay. There's a hand on Zoom. So can we take a hand from our virtual participants?
Yes, the question is from Lungisi Tusi. Can Doc clarify the ORCID ID part? Do all applicants need to have an ORCID ID account? If they don't have it, would it automatically disqualify them?
Thank you very much. Is there any other questions or comments from the virtual? Okay. That's the last one.
Yes, it should be. Thank you for the chance. All I want to check is with regards to the ethical clearance issue. This year we found it so difficult whereby the doctorate student had to have ethical clearance at the second year level. Hence, they face so much difficulties. Why is it the case? Because a doctorate is 3 years. Why can't they allow them to go for 2 years? And on the third year, they should be compulsory for them to have an ethical clearance. Because for masters would understand, you should have worked for the first year, then during your second year, ethical clearance, you must have it because you will be analyzing your data. However, for doctorate, it was so awkward for them to be required in ethical clearance at the second year level. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I'll allow Dr. Ngao to respond before we move on to the next speaker.
Thank you, Sia. The issue of, let me deal with the easy one. ORCID is compulsory. You need to have it. Either as any grant holder of the NRF must have an ORCID account. The issue of the ethical clearance. Think of it like this. There was a study that was commissioned in one of the universities, and the study was found to have been highly problematic, super highly problematic, because it was making certain inferences about a particular group of people in South Africa. And interestingly, the NRF was found to have funded that research project. Now, when this paper went out, as whatever the things that were there, in the end, it was nicely there in the end, because as the NRF, we say this is the requirement. The NRF funded this study, So whoever reads this thing, they then say, no, but the NRF is supporting these findings that we made here, as problematic as they are. And what we then did with that particular study, the researcher and so on, we then wanted to understand, because the locus of control, you need to understand the locus of control. There's a locus of influence and that of control. Does the NRF control the process? No. But the NRF certainly can influence the process. And how we can influence that process, we can say, you need to have an ethical clearance. And it's the responsibility of the universities to then set up this thing however they set it up. And whatever parameters that they will look at it as to what is it that they will deem to be okay or not okay. So that is the responsibility of the universities. But the danger in what you are proposing, and I'm happy to go back to the office, because these are some of the things that we are engaging to say, how do we make the process to be easier? Because from what you're talking about is, how do we simplify and make the process easier? But for us, if your study is found to have been problematic and it will not have gone through the proper channels of checking, whether it's ethical or not, what then happens later on when the NRF has funded your project and it's found to be problematic in so many ways? So those are some of the things that we are grappling with. As to look at the end, what we want to do to the question of talking about delays, we want to get the money to you as quickly as possible. But we also need to make sure that the NRF is a public entity. We are accountable. We must make sure that when the money goes out, we have ticked all the boxes in terms of whatever it is that is there. So the issue of ethical clearance, I mean, I'm putting it back to the university as well, is how do we find ways of dealing with this thing? For some of the universities, and I can understand, the supervisors, the researchers, they have teaching load, other administrative load, and so it might not be possible for these committees to meet as regularly as it's humanly possible. But also it's how do we expedite some of these things, for instance, so that in year one, if it's not possible that in year one that the ethical clearance is available, in year two, for instance, in the beginning, we even make that provision as the NRF. We say we understand that in year one, it might not be possible, but we will give you provision for year two. But we can't just continue in giving you extensions because we don't know what might come if we don't have that thing that says your study is okay. Because if anything goes wrong, people come and say the NRF is supporting all of these wrong things. And I think I've also dealt with the issue of the delay in funding. You might remember when you support in December, when we approve your funding, how it happens is you will get the award letter. What needs to happen in January is you must sign the conditions of grant, you must register, you must do all the other things, submit that to the research office, it comes to the NRF. As soon as that happens, the NRF releases money to the universities. So for the NRF, we try to release money as soon as possible. But if the conditions have not been met that will activate the release of funds, we will obviously wait until all the conditions are fulfilled. So it's a two-way process. We need to understand as the NRF where the backlogs certainly are. But if you feel that your funding is not coming as quickly as it's supposed to, go to the research office, ask them, where are the issues? Norma will immediately say, can you guys check? What are the issues? And then we will then, if indeed the problem is on our side, we will then self-correct and then come back to that. The issue of extension and COVID, in fact, what we did for the past 2 years, we were intentional and we were deliberate. And if you then even see at the number of students who could not complete their master's and PhD in record time as a result of COVID, the number of requests were increased. And as such, we had to make sure that even the funding that we have is going to respond directly to the needs that were there. So we tried to respond and to approve all the students that had applied for COVID for the past 2 years. And we even lowered our requirements and how strict we were when we were looking at those applications, because we understand that some of the universities, for instance, students could not totally access the lab. Worse for the students who had field trials, because they could not go and irrigate and fertilizers and all of those things. When they went back, they had to, a project that was 1 year ahead, it was now 1 year behind. So they had to start. So we were very flexible in how we are dealing with these things. And I think even this year, we might still exercise a little bit of leniency around the issue of COVID. But I think as of next year, we will start going back to being strict again. Taking back the money, colleagues, and Sianda, I'm not being harsh. I'm absolutely not being harsh. We have to start taking personal responsibility around this thing. I've shown you the numbers. We get about 14,000 applications. We only fund 5,000 applications. If we say to you in December, we have given you money for you to study and to whatever, we even say there, end of April, we are going to cancel if you don't take up this thing, if you don't take up the money. You sit there, I cannot understand. You sit there, you don't tell anyone, you don't say anything. Come the end of April, we see that nothing has happened, we are going to take back that money and give it back to students that want that money. But if you know, and you can already tell that my master's is not going to be finished because of this and this and this, immediately launch, start a process with the research office. Tell them, I don't think I'm going to meet my requirements now. So please talk to the NRF. We will gladly defer the scholarship to the following year. That's what we do. But we cannot accept the fact that you sit there, this thing is there. I mean, you're a master's and PhD student. There should be some personal responsibility. It's there in black and white. If you don't take up this thing by the end of April, we're going to take it back. So you ought to be also take personal responsibility. If you know that you're not going to, tell us, and then we will defer that. Does the NRF fund entrepreneurial research? We have the new CEO now, and we also have the new deputy CEO. So there are quite a number of, without me saying too much about it, there are quite a number of opportunities that the NRF is looking at. And one of the conversations that we are having is around the issue of entrepreneurial research. And there is quite a number of conversations to have there. Is the involvement of the private industry, the limited funding that is there, so many questions that we are grappling with. But as the NRF, we are engaging the bulk of this project. And this also talks to the issue of, does the NRF fund, if you're already doing a project, are we going to fund that project? So these are some of the suits of the opportunities and some of the innovative things that the NRF might introduce as a result of the NRF having a new CEO and also the new deputy CEO. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mang, for the presentation and also responding to the questions. Because of time, I think we have to allow him to leave the stage so that you can proceed. But thank you very much. I think what is important, what you've covered, is taking responsibility. And I think on the ethical clearance part of it, we are going to just allude and explain that we have done something with Norman and Mkhengi in the research office when it comes to ethical clearance. Because the issue of ethical clearance in any institution, and you are correct when you say that's an institutional process, it must take a student within a period of 12 months to get it once they started their proposal, if it moves from faculty level up until higher degrees. But there are faculty issues that go on, delays and everything that happens at faculty level, which brings another problem in getting your ethical clearance. So we are aware that on our side we need to improve, but the student themselves also need to improve when it comes to submission, meeting deadline. That's where the MOU comes in. When you said you will be applying for ethical clearance by October, you registered in January, you must be in that process. If it moves to the second year, then you must come to the researchers and find out what are the delays. So on that one, we do appreciate it. Thank you so much, Victor. Can you give him a round of applause, please? Thank you very much. And by the way, I haven't appreciated you for your patience, your maturity, and how you handled yourself through lunch. I know that we were given a little time to eat and digest, but thank you so much for working as a team and making sure that we have lunch without any fuss or frustrations. And apologies for the delay that was happening. We're now moving on to our two important stakeholders that you have to be aware of as a postgraduate student at the University of Zululand, which is the library that you use. I heard that Postgraduate Association said it needs to open 24 hours, so we're hoping that Zanele and Pumlana are going to take it to the director for that request. We're going to allow our library, and then after our library, it's going to be Prof. Mabusela from Teaching and Learning Center. The team is also there. If you've got any further questions after Prof. Mabusela's presentation, these are our very important stakeholders that we work with and yet you will be interacting with when it comes to your journey at the University of Zululand. What?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zanele Hadebe. I'm your research support librarian. I must say, I'm very pleased to see so many of you here, and I hope this is not the last time I see your faces, because most of you I've never seen in the library. Just saying. Okay. So my presentation. The presentation from the library is in two parts. I'm going to set the stage by talking about a different publishing model. I know the esteemed professor talked about publishing from your dissertation, but he talked more about the traditional publishing model that we are all too familiar with. I'm taking a different path and talking about the open access publishing model. Okay, so open access publishing model really talks to the principles of open access. Open access is a movement that was started in 2000, and the premise of that movement was to open up all scholarship, to make as many articles accessible to researchers as possible in the interest of the progression of science. Because the more open the research is, the more able the society is to solve some of these wicked problems that we have, like climate change, etc. So I'm just going to be brief about open access publishing. I'm just going to give a brief definition of what it is, its advantages, the benefits, and then I'm going to just say one word about the elephant in the room, and then my colleague is going to take over from there. Right, like I said, open access publishing talks to the principles of open access. I've just described what open access is all about. And it's a commitment by the broader research community to make sure that people are able to access research. And it's especially important for countries, in the South, because of issues of money. Most of them are not well funded. So that impacts on the access to research because they are not able to pay for these paywalled articles. So there are different routes to that. You've got your golds, your diamonds, but the most common ones are the gold open access journals, and then you've got the green, which is the self-archiving in the open access repositories. And as you know, each university has its institutional repository where they put all the research that has been done by the research community. Right, so just touching on the benefits of open access. For the researcher, for a start, you get your social capital, because what happens is that the more your work is cited, the more, prominent you become, And the other big advantage of OA publishing is your distribution of research, because now more people are able to access your research. It also helps in the formulation of policy, because if, the government and all other people that are important in government are able to access your research, then it obviously, assists in coming out with the policies. Innovation, interdisciplinary, it promotes collaboration, and then the knowledge transfer. I'm just touching on some of the benefits in the interest of time. I can't go through all of them. And open access publishing is, yes, it's open access, but someone's got to pay the piper. Someone's got to, there's no free lunch, like the Americans say. There's nothing free in this world. Someone has to pick up the tab. And this is where my colleague comes in, just to explain to you what the library has done in terms of, meeting this challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Zanele. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pumlani Biela. I'm an electronic resources librarian at the Zulu Library. Besides providing access to over 130 databases online, just to analyze what have we provided, if it's being used, if it does meet the university's idea of information provision. So our previous speakers have spoken about, the NRF side have spoken about the funding of the postgrads. Other speakers have spoken about the publishing. But as Zanele has just alluded, that there is nothing for free. I'm sure some other people are aware of the article processing charges, which is always the problem when you wish to publish. So in this case, the NRF has funded the students, and now you are a certified researcher from the University of Zululand. Then what? If you want to continue with your research, yes, you can use it, but how do you get your research to these high-impact journals that Prof. Prostandio was talking about? How do you make a positive contribution to the web of knowledge? How do you get your research to be out there, to be cited, for you to solve these local problems that you have invested all your time and energy in the research? So, what does the library do? We have contracts with many of these high-impact publishers which manage the high-impact journals, where majority of our researchers, that's where they want to be. That's where you want to see your research being cited along the big players in the industry or in your field of interest. So, what has happened is, these big players, these big publishers, they were doing something they called double dipping. When you are a researcher, you are liable for payment of article processing charges. So that will cover you everything, your review process, your editing and everything. So it will be available in these big platforms. Then from the library section, we go there and pay subscription to the very same publishers for you to be provided with this relevant information. So this agreement called transformative agreement is where we're trying to negotiate as an institution, but not as a library, as an institution of the University of Zululand, to tell these big publishers that, guys, we have researchers and we have the library who's paying millions for them to access these publications. Is there anything we can do for our researchers to have their research published in these high-impact journals without them paying these article processing fees or costs or charges, and try and cover these costs from the library subscription? So this is what the transformative agreement term comes from. So what are we trying to do in this agreement? We're trying to move away from the traditional subscription model where, as I was explaining, your researchers will pay for their research to appear in one journal, and then the library will also pay the very same publishers to have access to these publications. So the transformative agreement, what we're trying to do is, the money that we pay as subscription, it must also have an allocation for our researchers as a UniZulu to have access to publishing in these journals. So basically, we are trying to move away from the transactional side, the so-called traditional subscription model of electronic resources into this reading and publishing models. So the main aim of these negotiations was to bring institutional investment of scholarly material under control while trying to expand or trying to maximize the profits of the institution. So therefore, the transformative agreement negotiations are based on the understanding that the money paid in subscription fees covers the cost of open access publishing for scholarly content. Okay. We have two types of these agreements that we are currently faced with now. This is not unique to UniZulu, but it's something that is being discussed across the country under, as one of the research-focused institutions. So we have two types of these agreements that we have to deal with. The first one is called read and publish. In this agreement, the publisher is paid for both reading and publishing. So the allocation of the library funds that are being paid to the publishers covers the author processing charges as well. So this is what it's called. Please don't be misled. When you read them, they sound the same. The first one is read and publish, and the second one is publish and read. So in read and publish, we pay the subscription to the publishers, like your Emerald and your EBSCOs, we pay them. Then we said, let's have an agreement in place for someone who's interested in publishing with you to be able to publish without having to pay any processing fees. And the publish and read, which is not the one that we would like to subscribe to, in this agreement, the publisher is paid only for publishing. So it's read only. So this is where the authors pay for processing these articles and be available in the journals. But obviously, so basically the second one is what we're trying not to do, but it's there in the agreement. Obviously, it will be based on the arrangement between the institution and the publisher. Why does it take time to move, Sianda? Okay, so what do you have, because as the previous slide I was explaining the basic of transformative agreement, because sometimes we move too far with these new terms and we don't really understand what are they. So, the agreement by the UniZulu that is facilitated by the library is being done through Sanlik. I'll explain in the next slide who is Sanlik. So we have signed these transformative agreements for authors affiliated with the university to publish in primary research and review articles in the hybrid journals or fully open access journals at no cost whatsoever. So, in the next few slides, I'll be presenting the agreements that were already in place, that are already active. If you do go to our database list, you'll find one of these publishers which talks to your area of interest, and you are already ready, or you are ready to publish. You can easily approach them and tell them, hey, I'm from the University of Zululand. I want my paper to appear in this journal, and we'll take the process from there. So basically, this is what we're trying to do. So the University of Zululand have adopted the read and publish, which does not cost our authors any cents. So our agreements are being done through Sanlik. Who is Sanlik? Sanlik is a South African National Library and Information Consortium. Under Sanlik, Sanlik actually plays a role of an agent to higher learning institutions who are focusing on research. So they represent us. Because if we're going to go to each and every publisher as an individual institution and negotiate for ourselves, we might not be able to speak with one voice that will address the issues of the country at large. So in 2021, in one of the Sanlik meetings, we adopted principles that the intention of shifting from subscription to an open access model. So what we're saying is, we want our researchers to be known. We want our researchers to have an impact in the industry, in the scholarly communication. If we do shift from the subscription model into open access, that means your research will be read more widely as compared to what it is right now. And the subscription model, here we're trying to address the issue. I'm sure majority of you, especially who are researchers, I know for the fact that you use a lot of Google search or Google Scholar. I've conducted some hypothesis research before where I was asking postgraduates, where do they start research? Like 90% of them, they say Google Scholar, Google Scholar. But I'm sure everyone has faced this problem where they say, you see the article, you read the abstract of it, and you're like, let me download this article. And the article says, after this journal, are you coming from any higher learning institution? And you'll be like, yes. They say, name your institution. What's your University of Zululand? So I'm sorry, University of Zululand does not subscribe to this journal. I'm sure majority of you have done that. Hence, we always encourage our Unizulu that I don't know how to put it in English, but ungangeni ngopojo. Like don't come through those small gates. Come, go. When you're coming via Google Scholar, uzamupojo, hoping you'll end up in relevant information. Whereas, if you want to find the reliable research information or scholarly information that has been paid for by your fees, you log onto the university webpage, you click the library will say, okay, the library is open. And you do your search. You're like, what do you want? You do your search. And what you do, I always say to the students that I meet, this is the process, it's like a physical process. You walk in the main gate, you walk past the admin, go to the library, the security asks you student card, for student card, access to information. Even online, do the same thing. The minute they say, where are you from? Like University of Zululand, they say, identify yourself. You put in your login details, you have free access to information. But when you come through Google, it will ask you to identify your institution, how does your institution subscribe to us, all of this information that you don't know. There are all of these security measures of access to information. So, before I divert a lot, what we're trying to do with these agreements, we say, if we're going to be paying for our researchers to appear in these big publications, in these prestige journals, as they would like to call it, can we have our research not to be hidden behind paywalls? Can our University of Zululand publishers when they want to access their own information, be not faced with that problem of identify your institution? Because we have paid their publishing cost, they must be open as much as possible. So this transformative agreement aims to incorporate the cost of reading and the cost of publishing for open access members. So as a University of Zululand, we subscribe to open access publishing. So no authors will face publishing charges. So if you really want to publish your paper, and we have followed all the process of creating or producing a quality research, and you want to publish with the following publishers, you should do so without any cost. So what is needed from you is to conduct a good research, and then it will be accessible online. So maybe just to jump straight to what we have done and with who. We are subscribing to a full collection of Cambridge University Press. So our agreement with them started in 2021 and it runs until 2024. So in our agreement, so every agreement varies from publisher and institution to institution. So what Cambridge is saying to us, they say, Unizulu, if you have researchers who wish to publish their research with us, as long as from the library side you're still subscribing, your researchers can publish as much as possible. So if you have a paper that you have produced currently, right now, and you don't know what to do with it, you do not have fees to pay these publishers, you can go to our A to Z database list, find Cambridge, and see if there's a journal that speaks to your line of research in terms of subject coverage, then you can start your process. By next year, possibly in January, you'll be cited by many people according to BLA 2021. Your name will be there. So, with Cambridge, our agreement with Cambridge, there is no limit to what they can publish as long as the library subscribes to the journal, right? So that's our agreement between the UniZulu and Cambridge. Then we have Emerald. I'm sure majority of us are familiar with Emerald. They are one of the big players. So these publishers, they are bullies in the industry. It's hard to get in there because they know they have a high return of citations and viewership and readership. So they come and put all these laws that will make, especially for researchers who come from our region, to have access to this publication. So Emerald and the UniZulu, our contract there is not like the Cambridge contract. So Emerald said, okay, for South African universities, South African research-focused universities, in 2022, we're going to give you vouchers, 116 vouchers, first come, first served. If you have a research that is ready to be published and you want to publish in a journal that is being handled by Emerald publishers, you can approach them and see how many other processing charges are available as a voucher. So their structure, they were like, everyone who's negotiated by Sunlick, 2022, will have a three-year contract. 2022, 116. Next year, 140 vouchers. By 2024, which will be our end of our contracts, possibly we have been negotiated the new contracts. By 2024, we'll have 116 ATC vouchers. Sure. Then Wiley says they'll put the caps. They'll look at the research impacts of the university that is being published by Wiley, then top it up from there. So in 2021, they'll go to their databases and give us the stats and like, okay, we have 6 or 7 researchers who have produced 20 articles that are being published by Wiley. So the next cap will add by a certain number. Like for instance, what is happening currently, what we have, they promise that the cap will be 120% of the number of articles published in 2021 by the university researchers. So if under Wiley there are 100 publications, that means for 2021 it's 120. Then also negotiating with the sponsoring consortium of open access publishing in particle physics. This is the high energy physics journal where for a very long time it was behind the paywall and the subscription. So what we are negotiating via Sunlick is to collect funds from the subscription of the institution and convert this journal into fully open access repository. Why is it going back? So all of these are in red dots. Some of them, this is the phase 1. The phase 1 has been completed. We have signed 3 contracts, 3 agreements. Phase 2, which have started in terms of negotiations, we should see at least 3 more agreements that will allow our UniZulu. So we are trying to expand the pots where our UniZulu will have our UniZulu researchers will have a chance to go and publish with these so-called big players. So in the pots already we have Oxford Journal Science Direct and Springer Nature. Hopefully by next year we'll come back again and present what are these 3 offerings. What is Oxford Journal say are they offering to our UniZulu researchers while trying to avoid the APCs? So these are some of the benefits of the transformative agreements that we are signing. Obviously, everyone wants their research to be read as widely as possible. No page fees to be paid by the researcher. The copyright stays with the author, so you retain the rights of your work. Whereas majority of the subscription model, the minute you subscribe with a certain database or a certain publisher, they own the rights to your publications. Publishers work with institutions to understand their needs and facilitate open access publishing by researchers. And also, we aim to improve the channels for dissemination of scholarships. Publishers are committed to develop programs for supporting the submission of manuscripts. So, what do our researchers or authors need to know? to be eligible, you must be affiliated with an institution. So all of these benefits from these different publishers, they have the checklist. You must be either a registered researcher, a staff, or a student under University of Zululand in order for you to qualify for these benefits. The agreements, these agreements are between the institution and the publisher. So before you even try to take the advantage of these agreements, you must check first, especially with the institution or us at the library, if we do have some sort of an agreement with certain publishers. And obviously the agreement periods vary from publisher to publisher. So sometimes you might want to take the advantage of these opportunities only to find out that our contracts have expired, and maybe we did not manage to return with a new contract. Also, please ensure that your institutional email is always at work, since the majority of these publishers, that's what they use to verify the affiliation. And obviously, the transformative agreement is guided by the open access publishing, which uses Creative Commons as licenses. Creative Commons, we're talking institutional repositories, where the rule of open access is, if you are publishing a paper under the institution that subscribes to open access publishing, that institution have the rights to those publications. So you are forced to deposit in the research, in the Creative Commons or institutional repository for wider dissemination. So what I'm trying to appeal to our researchers here, that we do the processing of your thesis and dissertations. We know you do publications, research publications, but we don't see the papers. We have people that we know that they are affiliated with the UniZulu. They are writing, but we don't receive their articles. So they are publishing somewhere else, whereas they are affiliated to the UniZulu. So this is what open access and these agreements are trying to address. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Thank you very much to the library for a very informative presentation. And as I've said, there is lots of presents that you're giving away. I can confirm that the room has arrived. So here's the room. And it's written 2 people, so it's fine. You can bring your partner. But before we get to the grand finale, we'll have to just go through, I'll allow the library to ask questions. If you are listening, you have to answer the questions, and if you get them correct, then you get something.
Saving the best for last, hey? Right. Okay, so we have 2 bags. Just hold them up. So if you get the answers correctly, then you'll get one of those. Okay? How pretty they are. Okay, so the first question is, what is open access publishing? What is open access publishing?
The open access publication is a new publishing model which promotes free access and unrestricted access.
I didn't. Can you bring your mic closer? And also, colleagues, when you ask a question, if your hand is up fast, then we point you. So don't be slow.
Open access is the new publishing model which promotes free and unrestricted access.
Thank you. Sweet answer. And we have 2 bags, so there are 2 questions. So the last one. Name one benefit of open access publishing. Just one benefit.
You do not have to pay the fees for your publication. It's basically free.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
You do not have to pay any fees for your publication. It's basically free.
If it's wrong, then you have to
No. Next one. No, not really.
Not that one. Next.
It is research efficiency.
Pardon?
Research efficiency.
Next one, please, guys. I said, name one benefit of open access publishing.
Innovation.
Can we move to this side? Because now, yes.
Thank you so much, Ms. Valele. I'll just mention two benefits of copyright, of the open access. The copyright remains to the author, and there's no paper fees for the one who published.
Yeah, okay.
Can I have the gentleman and the lady to come get their presents, please? Thank you very much. I would like. I will keep the library on the stage while I request Prof. Mabusela to come to the stage from the Teaching and Learning Center. While she's coming onto the stage, I'll be introducing her. Just an announcement, I am aware that we owe a discussion. I was reminded, so that's why we're keeping the library in front, so that after Prof. Mabusela, then we're going to have a discussion before we move to the last important part, which is funders. We are behind time, so we really have to be as fast as possible as we can. Yes. And also in the process, please fill in the evaluation forms while you're at it, while you're listening to the presentation. I'd like to introduce Prof. Mabusela. Prof. Mabusela is employed. Colleagues, can we listen to one another? Thank you very much. Prof. Mabusela is employed as the Director, Teaching and Learning at the University of Zululand. She oversees the following portfolios: teaching technology, curriculum development, academic development, NESP scholars, MEP program, and writing center. She also supervises postgraduate students in the curriculum studies under the Faculty of Education. She is currently a member of the National Standard Review Committee in South Africa. She had presented papers in international platforms, conferences. As a result, she has been an external examiner for quite several universities in the country for postgraduate students and reviewed papers nationally and internationally in recognized journals. She had published papers in highly recognized journals. She is teaching and advancement at the University Fellowship, which is a prestigious mentoring program initiated by HELTSA under DHET for academics who had won Rector Excellence Teaching, which she won twice in 2007 and in 2017. Her research focuses on curriculum studies, instructional studies, large class pedagogy, and passion for teacher education program design. She is also a committee member of SASE, responsible for marketing and publication. Without wasting time, Prof. Mabusela, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it seems you are angry. Dumelang. Le kae? O le nna ke gona. My presentation is about the services that we provide at the Teaching and Learning Center. We are not offering any bursary like my predecessors who have been given bursaries and money, hotel rooms. We don't offer those services. Our services are responding to different strategic objectives or strategic goal of the university, especially of the Vision 22 to 2024. So we always align our services to the current strategic plan so that we are able to respond to basic needs at foundation phase of our students. Most of the services that we provide at the university are based on information that we get from first year student experience data, and then from there we do a project plan and we submit our project plan to Department of Education through UCDP, and they will be able to read through our project plan and be able to approve our funding. And our strategic plan, goal number 3, states that fostering transformative and critical pedagogy for teaching and learning. So that means mostly what we focus on, it is support at undergrad level and minimum at postgrad level. Because in most cases, the support for postgrad level are offered by the research committee, research office, and then we augment what they supplied for postgrad studies. In most cases, the support that you get in terms of academic writing is offered by the Writing Center. Our Writing Center has 5 academic facilitators and 17 student assistants who are very workaholic and having enough skills in terms of support, because most of them are at master's level and a PhD level. That means we have the right people and right person, the right manpower in terms of support. I'm not going to read through the PowerPoint, but because you are able to read, then you are able to see the services that we provide. We focus mostly on academic writing. So academic writing means simply how you write in terms of academics and how you read in terms of academics is 2 different things. In terms of academic support is when a lecturer provides you with an assignment and a proposal, and then they will refer you to the Writing Center in order to refine your topic. We offer those particular support. When a lecturer is not satisfied or a supervisor is not satisfied with any writing, then the supervisor can refer you to the Writing Center for general guidance in terms of the kind of techniques that you are supposed to be using in terms of reference, whether it's Harvard, APA, and in terms of how you put information in your paragraph, understanding the topic in terms of your problem, your introduction. Those are the services that we provide. And if you are preparing to defend your proposal, we also offer services of presentation skills that you will be getting from the Writing Center. The Writing Center works hand in hand with academic staff to conduct workshops on academic writing skills. We also offer day-to-day consultation depending on the needs of our students, including postgrad, provided it's about a submission of a proposal or an assignment, because an assignment in the University of Zululand is written same way as you write your literature in your postgrad studies in terms of your proposals. I'm not sure whether people are listening to me or watching the box that is moving around. So you are going to miss most of the important information focusing on those people. And then we regularly offer most of the assistance in paraphrasing effectively, reference correctly, and avoiding plagiarism. I'm glad the library has mentioned a shock that she has never seen so many of the postgrads in the university. It is true, madam. I'm only seeing them for the first time. I only saw those that are working at the writing center who are postgrad, but it's for the first time I'm seeing a number of postgrads that we have in our university because they don't attend workshops that are important, especially on referencing plagiarism and literature review, which is the most important element of your proposal. Because once you take your proposal or your study for plagiarism, it only picks mostly your literature review. Yes. We assist students in revising their drafts as long as they listen. We don't write for students at the writing center. We sit with you and we guide you in terms of understanding and capturing the whole skills of academic writing. We assist students in understanding research-related concepts like writing a research proposal, which is the most difficult chapter in writing because your proposal becomes your chapter 1. So imagine if your whole study rely on your proposal. The more good you write your proposal, the more we know that your chapter 4 or your chapter 5, which is data analysis, will be so good. Guiding students on how to proofread and format their dissertation and thesis and according to relevant format. Sometimes students come in if they don't understand the tracks in terms of the writing on the tracks, then we make sure that they understand and filter in those particular comments that the lecturer has provided or the supervisor has commented about them. Encouraging postgrad students to apply to tutoring because most of the undergrad program rely on you to support them because we refer you as very knowledgeable. And in most cases, majority of the students that are employed as student assistants, mentor, and NGAP rely on the pool of our postgrad students to apply and be able to share your skill and knowledge in terms of supporting them. Don't look at the money that you get. The fact of the matter is when you apply for a job, being a tutor, you are able to be employed. We will not be in a position to increase the money based on the fact that we only get that support from government, guys. We apply and they give us the money to assist the first year student, and there's not much that we can get from government, guys, in terms of the payment. We wish that you can get 500 a month. A day, sorry, taxation. Students assistance that is provided is in the form of academic reading. We also have a reading software in the writing center. That's the reason you see the computers. Those are for reading, but in most cases it's for the undergrad student. We do topic analysis that we guide both undergrad and postgrad so that they understand because your topic determines what will be the aim of your study. Understanding the assignment instructions, the structure of the argument, the writing processes, referencing, avoiding plagiarism, and paraphrasing, summarizing a code, we're able to support students, both undergrad and postgrad, in that matter. The reason we have so many activities within the writing center is because we get money. We apply for money from DHEAD under the UCDP or the UCDP grants so that we are able to provide services that target mostly, in most cases, a lot of people that consult the writing successful in terms of their learning in the university because you are the one expected to be guiding them in terms of writing, and because we employ postgrad students in terms of supporting students. So the money that we get for the support of students and also in terms of postgrad come from the UCDP grant to support academic development. And I have a team, Mr. Lindom Kise is for student academic support. The facilitators, it is Mrs. Mgobozi, Dr. Dlamini, Asanda, and Mrs. Ngobo, Richards Bay, and Mr. Nchingina. Those are the people that support in terms of academic writing. Then we have Mr. Asipe Wakeni. He's our technology. He's responsible for auto-enrollment and the purpose of using Moodle in terms of teaching. We submit a 3-year plan from DHET at that stage. We request money for year 1, year 2, year 3. And then in those particular instances, we use the money in order to for the operation of the writing center and other activities that we are offering. In most activities, we target supervisors and then we assist them in terms of how they support students in terms of research, proposal writing, referencing, supervision, mentoring, and all those kind of support so that they are able to support you, so that you are able to complete your MA, your M and D at the required time, because a lot of you are funded, and once you skip that particular funding, you're not going to be able to get the required fund. As NRF has stated that you are sent for a particular year. Then we have these other activities that are offered by the technology. I'll pass them. And then we have staff development. We support all academics in terms of teaching, in terms of research, in terms of writing, so that they are able to share those information with you. And then we normally do invitation using our notices in the university, but you'll find most of our postgrads, they only come when it suits them. And only to find that we have different activities that we would like to expose you so that you are able to succeed and acquire relevant knowledge to what your MS, your M&Ds, and to complete them in record time. And the other reason why you get this support, there are other programs that we offer that are student employment. We have the NGAP, and maybe you have heard about them. We manage the NGAP in the unit, and then we encourage academics to apply for, we encourage academics to motivate for the application. And in most cases, when we see the employment opportunity, is so rare to find students in the university applying for those kind of employment. Most of the people that are employed as a gap come from other institutions. And then we have the nurturing young emerging scholar. It must be a person who has passed an honors with 65%. Currently, we only have 3 posts in the university for NSP. And then there was an advertisement recently. We couldn't find anybody in terms. It was mechanical engineering, and the other one is for education. It was life science educator. These are the opportunities that we have, because the more we give you support, we want you to get a mark out of 70, so that if you want to pursue academia, then you will search for those posts that are referred in the NGAP. They are regularly advertised by the national government, but we also do internal application by HR, so that they only attract those candidates who have passed more than 70% as stated. Currently in the university, we have 28 posts that have been given through TLC by my office, and then these are paid. They get 2.5 million in 6 years' time. So that means that there's a lot of money in those projects, and I've never seen students in the university applying for those kind of posts. Very interesting, the lucrative type of posts, and they're permanent. You get the support for 6 years. And then you are a permanent staff member. The other opportunities that we offer in our units are this one. Currently, the ad went on and we couldn't find anybody. We only found somebody for statistics, and then we're still waiting for recommendation from government whether they approve the interview of the person. So those are the opportunities that the unit offer. And then because we encourage people to write very well, a good proposal, a good dissertation, a good thesis, so that they're able to get the 70% threshold. We host creative writing workshop where students win competitions, win in terms of the writing. They submit a piece of creative writing, it goes through adjudication, and they get, compliments of those. We recently hosted a conference, and then few of honors students applied for the presentation, submitted the abstract. It was difficult to see postgraduate PhD in those conference members. The majority of the students who presented were those that were doing honors, and then you just ask yourself, where are the PhD students? Because in a conference, they're able to criticize your work, and you are able to get guidance from those comments. We have an academic week also. We give students opportunity to do the presentation of their piece of work, and then we do the seminars. But currently, the seminars that we've been offering were for engineering and consumer science. We wish that we'll extend those projects so that we support our undergraduate program so that they're able to articulate to honors and masters and PhD. Through the support, we say they will be able to, we match access with success, and that is the reason we offer those seminars. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our presentation. I have a team that other side. If you require more of the information in terms of the support from TLC and the Writing Center, my colleagues are available to respond to your questions. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Prof. Mabusela, for your presentation. Because of time, we have our presenters in front, so we're going to be taking 3 questions, not more than that. So we've got a first question from the online, which my colleague is going to be responding to. While in the meantime, can we take 3 hands? Not more than that. So in your questions, you are asking from the presentation from Prof. Robert Prasad, the Postgraduate Association, the library services, and teaching and learning. So our questions are based on those presentations before we move to our funders. And I'd like to encourage our postgraduate students not to seize this opportunity for our funders, because if you miss them now, they are here. You're not going to come to the research office one by one and saying we're not funding. They are here. So you have to listen to the presentation and get actual answers from the horse's mouth. Questions? If they're not, okay, yes.
Hi. Is it true that for every paper that is published by an institution, the Department of Higher Education gives money for that paper? If so, can't the institution offer a percentage of that money as an incentive for students to encourage them to publish more? Thank you.
Did you get the question? Can you say the question again? Because I think the library is going to take that question.
Is it true that for every paper that is published, the Department of Higher Education gives money, pays the institution for that paper? If so, can the institution give a percentage of that money as an incentive or for students to publish more, like to encourage them to publish more? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Yes, please, can you please go with your question? Noted. Just the third one and the last one. Please go with your question.
Afternoon. My questions are just a list here. I'll try to be short because I'm coming as a postgraduate student and also as an academic officer of the SRC. Hence, I'll try to cover a lot of stuff here. I would like to first to refer to Prof. Mabusela as our last speaker. I would want to check a clear way of grooming a student from being a tutor to being a lecturer. So I want to see the transition. How much are they trying to develop one from that process? Because as currently we are having issues with regards to tutors and so on. Because now we are having an issue whereby teaching and learning is having tutors, but students are paying private tutors as their substitute in terms of tutorship. Because they are saying the current third year they are having or fourth years, they are not giving them enough information since we know that they are online products. They are not as effective as postgraduate that we are having. And when it comes to the payment, why postgraduates are so reluctant into the program of tutorship, you find that 805 is a lesser amount. Then also the institution will deduct a 60%. Then it also discourages students to partake into this process. So I want teaching and learning to try and have a strategy around this in terms of assisting postgraduate students, because already these people are not funded. And on top of that, they go for teaching in classes if they are tutors. Then at the end of the day, they get 40% of their payment. So that discourages them as the first point of departure. That's why they will ought to be a private tutors. And I will move to other speakers, which would inform a research and also postgraduate students as they are about to assume the office. Their task with regards to labs, really I heard they saying the lab must be revamped. The lab is too small. As you can see, how many postgraduates are we having in this room? All these postgraduates, they should use less than 10 computers for their work to be done. So I would like to see a plan going forward as to where will we be in terms of a year, 2 years, in terms of plan of having more labs in the institution so that postgraduates may be effective. Moreover, this one will be left to the lab, to the library. The library closes we fought hard for it to close at 11. It was closing at 4, as if this was a daycare space. So now,
Can you wrap up, sir?
At least now it's closing at 11. Yes. However, one would know, whenever you are productive, it will be at night as a postgraduate. I know, like at 2 and at 1, that is where one becomes effective. So we want to see a long-term plan as to having a 24 hours operation of the library so that postgraduates can make use of the space and be productive in their own space. Because already these people are already frustrated in terms of funding, in terms of everything. Moreover, we want to see the plan in terms of the postgraduate village. We had proposed at the beginning of this year to have the Blue Towers as one of the way of...
Yes. I'm noting your questions, but now you are on the point number 4. And we don't have time right now, because some of the things that you are saying have been... Excuse me? So some of the things that you are saying have been dealt with and have been presented. So can you please sum up your question, because we need to get questions moving.
It is important for me to highlight this, since this is Imbizo. I believe what you'll get from here will go and be presented wherever it is. Hence, that's why we had to come to this space so that we can present our issues. We have been having issues on the ground and we've been gathering them. Then it was a space for us to come and present them here. But if we are denied an opportunity to present them here, then that would mean we don't have an effective space where we could gel here and engage commonly as individuals and find one another. So I'll stop there. If that's the case, if time is an issue, then I'll stop there.
Thank you so much. Can I just clarify to you, sir, that it's not that it's being denied, but it's a situation of if you are requested to ask one question, you can ask that question, and then we can proceed. The reason why we're here is because to discuss those issues. Some of those issues have been dealt with by your postgraduate association, which also some of the things that they must take as an objective. So no one is denying of anything, but we must respect time and instruction that is given. Very important. Can I have another question there?
Thank you. Yes, what? All right. Thank you very much, from the program director. I don't know, maybe can I use my language? Sanbonan. Program director, one must disappointed about, we're waiting about Imbizo, about postgraduate Imbizo, where you guys will listen to our problems, challenges we are facing as postgraduates. But what we are seeing here is a workshop or a seminar. So we are being taught how to use this and this. Officer look in, but I'm not there. We tell one to officer teaching and learning. We thank you very much. So I want to follow about the contribution to our students. But I think with teaching and learning, there are lots of loopholes akhona. First and foremost, lento yamathutha ukuthi amathutha ahola u-2.5, that's an insult. We must say that. You can't tell me ukuthi from 2014 to today, i-policy sathi student or umuntu oyithuso must get 2.5. No. So what I'm really asking mina ukuthi le police esisibhekene 2.5 singamathutha singala funding. Then you say we must get 2.5. Those 2.5 low isikole esothatha 60% waso isikole. That means if I get 2.5, isikole will take almost 1.2 and ngisala no 800 rand. I don't have a room. Kumele mphathele umqasho. Nayo i-problem yamathutha-ship leyo ke ayikho guaranteed. Kunyaka lona mina kulonyaka I was planning to apply for a tutor but imile has be khona. That means ngizolamba unyaka wonke. That's the first thing. The second to that, the problem teaching and learning there's a program we call esikoleni. I think it was 2020 which is called Imbizo 101. That program, apart from ukuthi iyaholela or maybe abantu imali or maybe the but yona itself was very, very effective to students. We must say that students in Germany now, in the past 2 years, we never had students or universities. We can say that it's fresh from Colonial. One, why in Shoanjal? Even the honor students, we were having a challenge. Students, they are failing assignment to an honors level. So writing assignment, as in blame with the online law. So upon student employability, what fails is called apart from safety. I'm including it in the research office there. What fails is called see adopt Tina. There are a lot of people who have master candidates or having the PhD. Why fails is called Tina within the universities? If maybe it's not benchmarking, about whom a professor guys sent home, who might know what my verses was how did they do? How am I supposed to hold 8,000, 12,000, 2.5? Danjai.
Thank you very much.
That I don't know, maybe but 2 minutes. No 2 minutes. Ngizafuna ukuza kwindaba because eka 101 sami buya 101. It was very effective on such a first year student. Number 2 mzozile ama NCAP. We are having a challenge in the NCAP lecturers. We must say that. In the NCAP lecturers, I think it's wrong if kuthiwa izobhala HOD abhale incwadi to ilo amotivate incwadi. Because the other departments guys ayabadinga HOD, we must say that. And we must not say khona ama departments are in this university because of HODs. HODs who don't care. Mina I'm from the studies. I can say that and I'm proud of the local. But in my department, not even one student, even one lecturer elafunda ongoye elafunda economic studies. Not even one. Sundelan for why why? There's in your levels, there's in the taco. I'm an NCAP. Can I be protected, Chairperson? As I've said, the problem is almost level 1 and honors outside of tutorship. And in Ghana, our departments need the NCAP, but NCAP high department. All the level of food is in the Mina, was in the Yama, if you mean, Mr. Beakula, maybe from research. I think we're having Ilona to expect well.
Can I ask can I come in? Is it a comment or a statement? Because the person that is here must answer your question. So what is in your first part of the NCAP and your second part of tutors, what is your question? So that we can
my first question we are not told a police. One. There is police me for exchange because it ends all mood. And if it's needs to give money, I'm a basis go for you. That's my first question.
Yes.
My second question is MCAP. In the MCAP, UCLC ungaba involved with each and every department. Each and every department must have NCAP. We know that you look outside from the head. But UCLC, if we maybe can monitor and evaluate that program, I think can I contain?
No. Let me just remind you, colleagues, and let me remind also the person that was asking. First thing, as a postgraduate student, you must respect the Imbizo and what was said. If you are saying you thought it was Imbizo, now it's a workshop, That's an insult to what we said. Your Postgraduate Association sat down with us and planned this. So the people that are here is part of what we are doing. This is not a workshop.
My apologies, Chief.
Yes, remember, this is not a workshop, it's Imbizo. And for us to say one question, we're not insulting you. We are here, we've got lunch, we've got even after, we can even engage. But let's stick, because we've got presenters from outside who need to present and fly back. So we are running out of time. So let's not have a situation where we play in politics, colleagues. Let's not do that. Please, President.
Good afternoon. I'm back to respond on the question of the payment of tutors. Colleagues, the payment of tutors is according to the University of Zululand policy, not the Teaching and Learning Center policy. We don't make policy at the Teaching and Learning Center. We follow the policy as dictated by the university. And if it is supposed to change, they will do that based on the best forum that will be able to respond to those kind of policy change. And I also mentioned in my discussion that we get the money from DHET for NGAP, for payment of the tutors. So the more we will demand, the more they're not going to give us. Recently, they have been reducing the funds that they give us. So that is the reason why it will always be the that letter. And I'm of the opinion that my service to first-year students, it will be a voluntary service in terms of support, not necessarily that voluntary in per se, but supporting the endeavor of a black child, not about the money. Because that money, we get it elsewhere, guys, really. When it comes to the issue of the NGAP, I'm not going to respond for the issue of employment of academics. We don't employ academics. We create the opportunity for the NGAP position. Faculties and departments are the ones responsible for employing lecturers. All NGAPs enter the program with a master's degree and pass it at 70% average. So I'm not sure why should I monitor people who are employed at the department while I provide service. I hope it is clear, that one. And if anybody wants any further information, TLC is available. People come and go. And even the gentleman asking questions, he has been at TLC, he has never asked me about those questions. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, I've been put in a very tight spot where I have to speak on behalf of the library management. I might not have all the answers. The first question we got from online is, how long does it take for our thesis and dissertation to be uploaded online? That's a management issue. I deal directly with the uploading and publishing of thesis. Unfortunately, for the past 2 years, our repository hasn't been able to submit or harvest it. So when the harvesting part is when the external platform are trying to grab whatever that I've published and put it online. So when you search your name on Google, it doesn't only show your Facebook profile, but it shows your research that you have done. That's the harvesting part. So our system crashed in 2019. While we were trying, while we were trying to fix that, it crashed the submission side. Remember, these systems are not created in South Africa. They are not developed here. The developers are based in UK. And when we ask them to come and help, they charge per 15 minutes. They sell us credits. And the 15 minutes credit is 260 pounds. If you count 15 minutes logging into the system, that's the login part. They haven't started anything. So, as a matter of trying to sort out this problem, we created the test server where we uploaded the 2020 and 2021 documents, but it is not a live server. We have just, if you go in, you can only connect to those theses only when you go through to the library page, which is library.unizo.ac.za. You click on Institutional Repository, then you can have the 2020 and 2021 publications. But the general online platform, you can only get up to 2020. But we were promised, our IT department were promised us that by end of this year we'll be back live. Then it will take that we re-upload everything as far as I don't know how long we've been publishing. But we are prepared to do that process. But to be short on the question, it's only a 1-2 month project once all the documents have been received from the exam department. In the space, or in the question of the lady who asked about the money being received, being kept by the institution when publishing a paper, unfortunately from the library side we do not deal with the money allocated to researchers. SINA, we just provide the platforms, we facilitate what we can from the library side in terms of our subscription. Any deal that the researcher strikes with the publisher, it's between the researcher and the publisher. Unfortunately, we cannot answer that question. Sorry, Mrs. And the issue of the access, the space in the library, I'm not sure if it was a question directed to us, but there was the library has always been operating until 11 p.m. Until 12 midnight as it's happening now during exams. Then there was COVID. Immediately after COVID, I'm sure you've observed that the whole institution is under construction. So we started our construction projects to fix the ground floor, the entrance part of the ground floor. So there were security issues. We could not keep the library open up until late at night. So we had security issues. But what we intensified the promotion and marketing of library online resources. So yes, physically, maybe the library might have been closed, but we are accessible 24 hours. So those who do go inline and have access problems, I personally respond to them at any time, even midnight. So the library is accessible 24/7 online. Should you not be able to get in physically, you can always get all those resources that you might need online. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our speakers. I think I'll allow you to go back to the floor. Thank you very much to the Library and Teaching and Learning. Can you please give them a round of applause? I will kindly request the representatives from CSIR who's going to present, Mr. Justice, Ms. Joy, and Dr. Thokozani just to come in front so that they can be prepared. And we have Dr. Ndanda online who's going to start with the presentation. Unfortunately, because of time, I've requested even Dr. Ndanda to just do 10 minutes, and then we're going to have questions after all of the presenters have presented. Jacques, I think we can portray the presentation from Dr. Ndanda while my speakers are coming. So after Dr. Ndanda, then it will be Mr. Justice, Joy, and then Thokozani. Thank you very much. Zinhle? Just to introduce Dr. Ndanda is from South African Medical Research Council, which deals with scholarship and funding. So she's the first to present. Unfortunately, she couldn't be with us because she did do a visit 2 weeks ago in Imbizo, Zululand. So we requested her to do a virtual. So she couldn't travel again from Cape Town. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much to the organizing committee for inviting us. So as per intro, I'm Linda Ndanda. I'm with Research Capacity Development of the SMRC, and we support the strategic goal 4 of the SMRC, which is to build capacity for the long-term sustainability of the South African health research. So I'm going to briefly touch on what the SMRC is all about, and the funding units of this SMRC, and I will also talk about scholarships. So the mandate of the SMRC is to improve the health and quality of life of South Africans and this is realized through research, development, and technology transfer. Our vision really is to build a healthy nation through research, innovation, and transformation. Very important is that the SMRC is the largest funder of health research in Southern Africa. So some people get confused because we have two funding units. So the GIPD, Grant Innovation and Product Development, they mainly, generate their income through external donors. For example, during COVID, they generated about 500 million rands, which is directed to COVID research. But I fall within research capacity development. We deal with, scholarships, career awards for early and mid-career scientists. So within the division of research capacity development, we have a scholarship and a grant portfolio, and I oversee the scholarship portfolio. Within the scholarship portfolio, we have about 5 different scholarship programs. The Bongani Mayosi National Health Scholars Program, and the aim of the program really is to develop a vibrant and a transformed health research academic pipeline. We want these people, we are training them so that they'll be able to train the next generation of health or clinical researchers. This program is funded by the National Department of Health, so we receive additional funding from NDOH. We also get funding from Public Health Enhancement Fund. So what attracts students to this program is that there's no set amount or scholarship value. So you get what you would be getting if you were working. So for example, if you after take-home pay would be 460K per annum, that's what we would be giving you as a scholarship. Then we have a clinician researcher development program, and this one is the objective is to develop a cadre of highly trained clinician scientists. So this is for MPCHB holders or people who have a dentistry degree. So we work mainly with SA medical schools, and we give these scholars 500K per annum. And then we have the SMRC Internship Scholarship Program, which is an in-house program. Very important for one to be eligible to apply to this program, they have to be associated with the SMRC intramural and extramural units. Basically, they have to have a course supervisor within the SMRC, and UNIZRU has done very well, especially the Department of Biochemistry. But we are looking at having, other departments as well. For example, when we were there a few weeks ago, we learned that the computer science department is doing, a lot of work around developing epidemiological predictive models. So we would really like to engage with them and see if we can find scholars in their department to work with. For example, one of our departments, the Burden of Disease Department, which does similar work. So the aim of this program is to contribute towards the SMRC's transformation agenda. So it's a program that is just dedicated to funding Black students, that is African, Colored, Indian, and Asian. So we give our scholars for PhD 200K per annum, and for masters it's 160 per annum. I'm sure now you can see that really our scholarships are handsome. Then we have the vaccinology program. Within the vaccinology program, basically what we're trying to do here is to develop the next generation of leaders in the field of vaccinology. So these are people who are specializing in vaccinology or doing a master's in vaccinology. So it could be someone who's working in vaccine discovery, vaccine development and manufacturing, vaccine implementation, or clinical epidemiology of vaccines. So previously we have partnered with the University of Lausanne and sent students there to do their masters in vaccinology, and most of them have completed their master's degree. We are also trying to explore partnerships with other institutions, especially local institutions. We have, started talking with VetAlive, and we are talking to institutions like SMU that have, specialized vaccinology programs. Then we have the Researcher Development Program. With this program, the aim is to support employees of the universities, academic institutions who are engaged in clinical or health research and wish to finish their studies. So these would be people who are lecturing and they are at the tail end of their PhD. So to give them protected time to focus on their PhD or on completing their PhD studies, we give them once-off funding of up to 250K, and this is a once-off funding. Very important. We know that UniZulu doesn't really have a health faculty, but we know that they do a lot of health research. So we are interested in candidates that are doing health research. So for general eligibility, one must be a South African citizen or a permanent resident. They must be registered full-time for a PhD or master's. As a South African university, we do not fund people who are studying overseas. Their research projects must be approved by the institutions, and where applicable, they must also have ethics approval. Also very important is that the research projects must be aligned with the national research priorities or be responsive to that particular RFA. For equity and redress, preference is given to scholars from underrepresented or previously under-prioritized or funded groups and institutions. So when we review the applications, we look at the suitability of the candidates, we check their CVs and their motivational letter, we look at their past research outputs, articles, conference presentations, even a conference such as this. If you are presented to a conference within your institution, please put that on your CV because it does count. We look at your research experience, especially when we're reviewing the Bongani Mayosi National Health Scholars Program applications. And then also we look at your motivational letter. And what is important there is that you have specific and clear career goals in your cover letter. Then we look at the quality of science. Does the science have merit? Is it feasible? Is this person going to be able to complete this program in 3 years? Because sometimes you get people who are proposing overly ambitious projects for their PhD or even for their masters. And we also check the alignment to the course priority research areas. We look at things like originality, objectives, research methodology, and potential societal impact. But this is obviously done by our reviewers, not us. And then we look at supervisor's track record. It is important for us to look at supervisor's track record because what we want to see is that the supervisor will be able to graduate, or the student will be able to help the student complete their project. We look at the research environment, whether one has support, institutional support as the required research infrastructure. For example, if one is proposing to work on infectious disease like tuberculosis, which needs biosafety level 3 lab, do you actually have the biosafety level 3 lab to conduct the tuberculosis research? So we look at those things, and that's why it's important if you have collaborations to put it down as well, that you'll be using this infrastructure. You'll be working with this university for this particular, research infrastructure or facility. And then we look at equity as well. So we look at race, gender, and institution, historical versus, historical disadvantaged institution versus historical advantaged institution. For example, if you're female, you're black, you're from UniZulu, you get the whole 25 points. I think I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lindo, for your presentation. And I'm sorry that the time had to be cut off. We'll have to move to the next speakers. So all of our funders are going to present. Please note your questions down so that at the end, then you ask questions, you can direct them straight. Please, can you do comments or questions? Very important on that one. So I'll allow Mr. Justice, as the next presenter, to come in and to present. And then we'll take the questions at the end.
increase it for me then. Let me just see. Not sure what happens now. Should I open the one on the desktop? Okay, thank you so much, Sia. I'm not sure if I'm audible enough. All right, perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Justice Komane, and I currently work as a Graduate Development Coordinator at the CSIR under the Learning Capability Development and Corporate Social Investment Office. I oversee a couple of, graduate development programs. So I'll be taking you guys through some of, the CSIR student programs that we have. Without wasting any further time, because I see that, there's not enough time, there's a number of pipeline development programs that we have at the CSIR for, students from, high school level. So we have learner support, programs. There are some few schools that we've adopted, where we, fund science, engineering, and technology, students from undergrad up to, postdoc level. We have the CSIR Central Merit Bursary. We also have, postgraduate bursaries that we fund, and some of our bursaries are funded by the Department of Science and Innovation. In terms of the CSIR merit bursary, as I had indicated, that we start from high school level. We fund students from your undergrad, and I'm not going to get into this one because we only have postgraduate students in today's event. But for the CSIR bursary, as it's a merit bursary, so it's a full course bursary which covers for everything at the university, starting from your registration, tuition, living allowance, your meal allowance, laptop allowance. You also get book allowance, and we also give our students, living allowance to allow them to, cover additional costs at the universities. They also get opportunities to come and work at the CSIR while they're still studying. And as I had indicated, that we also, have bursaries that are fully funded by the Department of Science and Innovation. So I also oversee the CSIR DSI Interbursary Support Program, which supports postgraduate students from your honors level up to, PhD level. So the bursary covers your tuition, registration fee, and students also get, monthly or quarterly allowance. And we also have a once-off laptop allowance for this funding, and we advertise annually around July for this bursary opportunity. And in terms of eligibility and funding, all students can apply. This includes international students. This are students who are accepted for or registered for full-time studies at any South African, public university. As I indicated, we fund students, from honors. So we also fund fourth-year engineering students and postgraduate diploma students and your master's and PhD students. So the funding values per study, level. For honors is 100,000. And that will also include a top-up of, once of 10,000 from for new students. Masters is 120,000 and a top-up of 10,000 laptop allowance, and PhD is 140,000. And on top of that, you get also a once-off, laptop allowance of 10,000. And as I indicated, that the funding, is from the DSI. So the program is fully funded by the Department of Science and Innovation, and it's managed by the CSIR, to, assist with building high-end, skills for the CSIR and for the nation. For this program, there are specific areas that we fund. At the moment, currently we are phasing out aerospace and composites, but we do have students that are currently being funded under these, thematic areas. So those students will continue funding them until they complete their studies. And we also fund students who are, doing research under your modeling in digital science, microsystems technology, titanium, photonics, under biotechnology, we fund biofarming, bioprocessing, and biocatalysis. We also fund students under ICT, IKS, health, and we just recently added mining to the program. As I had indicated that we added mining to the program, so we then also, opened a call for the mining thematic area, and the call will be closing on the 11th of November. So these are some of the areas, that will be funding under the mining thematic area. And for the students that are funded at the CSIR, on top of the financial support, that includes the laptop allowance, we also host inductions for our newly appointed students every year. And we also, host research workshops. These workshops are hosted, biannually. The first one in the first semester, and the second one in the second semester. This is mainly to allow students, who could not attend the first workshop, for them to be able to attend the second one. So we also have extension, funding, scholarships for an additional 6 or 12 months for students who could not complete their studies on record time. This is mainly for masters and PhD funded students, and we also have your travel grant, high level conference funding opportunities that we offer our students, vacation work experiential learning opportunities, thesis and printing cost funding. And we also, we recently also, added experimental cost funding for our students, because we've realized that, most of our students are struggling in terms of, instruments that they need for their, for them to be able to conduct their research and so on. So we provide them funding for them to, where if, there's a specific instrument that is not made available at the university, they can go out elsewhere, in the industry, for them to be able to access the instrument and for them to be able to, conduct their research. We also offer, because we know that, mental health is an issue, so we also offer our students, psychosocial support. So we have one-on-one meetings with our students just to check up on them. We also have group sessions for our students to just meet, and if they have problems or they have challenges that they are facing at the university, they can be able to assist each other. We have a mirror system that allows our students to, report, advise on how they are doing while they're busy with their studies. And if students are going through, difficulties, mental issues, we also have a counseling service by ICARE that we make available to our students. And I think that would be it from my end. And in terms of opportunities at the CSIR, so if you're interested in applying for a bursary or a job opportunity, please visit the CSIR website. I think that's it from my end.
Thank you very much, and I hope that you are noting questions, because the next speaker is going to be coming for CSIR. Not all the questions that will be answered. Ms. Joy, please come onto the podium.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joy Nogabe. I am from the Department of Higher Education and Training from International Scholarship Directorate. Before I start with my presentation, I would just like to ask by a show of hands, how many of you have subscribed to receive our alerts, scholarship alerts, so that I know who to address and what I need to present today? Only one person. Okay. All right. So thank you. Thank you for that. It seems as if we are not visible enough. That is one of the reasons why we came today, because we have realized that South Africans are not aware of the opportunities that are available for them to pursue studies abroad. So our directorate is mainly promotes international opportunities for South African students to go and pursue their studies abroad. So as a department, we do not have funding, unlike other colleagues who have just presented. Our role, we receive these opportunities from our partner countries abroad. Then the department will co-supplement, they will be actively involved in. We do have a number of different opportunities. Some of them, our role is just to advertise. Others, we nominate. Others, we take students through up until completion. So I'm going to share all of that. However, for today, I'm also going to share with you one of the new programs that we have just been appointed as the focal point, which is the Erasmus Plus program. This is a mobility program. Let me see. It is a mobility program. It's been active from last year up until 2027. So these programs, they are offered under 5 focal points, 5 programs. So the first 5 that are bold are the programs that are offered under this program. There is also visual exchange, and also the focal point, which I've mentioned, is the Department of Higher Education. We have been appointed this year. So we are going to be the information hub for this opportunity. I'm also going to share with you the opportunities for staff and students. Okay. What I will do, I'm just going to reflect everything. For these opportunities, the first one is for the sub-Saharan countries. So these opportunities allow you to move around in any of the sub-Saharan countries. The European countries has invested 570 million euros for institutions that they didn't participate in the past. So they want those universities or stakeholders to also apply for these opportunities. And if, say, for example, a university was not participating, now they want to start participating, they can also look at extending your period beyond the 2027. Also, the focus here is on Green Deal, your sustainable development goals, digitalization, entrepreneurship, and innovation. Those are the fields of study that they are also looking at, and also your project should be aligned with the EU values. So if it's not aligned, unfortunately, you cannot participate in this program. The first one, I'm going to go through the International Credit Mobility Program. This is a mobility of both students and staff between program countries. The countries I have mentioned is the sub-Saharan countries or in the EU. So the focus, so if you want to have a project with one of the partners, it should be between 2 and 12, or for staff members, it should be at least between 5 to 60 days. So also for all study levels, if you are doing your undergraduate, you can also participate, and I've mentioned in all those areas of study. For staff members, it's from 5 days to 2 months. And also, who can apply? Program countries must submit the application through the Department of Education and Training or through the European Erasmus Plus website. As a department, we are also trying to build in the information on our website. We have started doing that today. So if you are interested, you can have a look at our website. I'll give the website address at the end of my presentation. So also, as UniZulu should also have agreements with those universities that you want to participate at. So it is important that you link up with your international office to check which universities you have agreements with. And also, okay, the master's one, you should be registered for a master's program between 12 and 24 months. That's when you can pursue your studies. This is a full scholarship. Full scholarship, it covers everything: tuition, stipends, flights, everything, and who is applicable, who can apply all higher education institutions, both private and public. So if you are interested in maybe next year studying at a private institution, you can apply for this. Remember, private institutions are always excluded in most of the funding programs. And also enterprises. By enterprises, it's companies outside. If there is a company at KwaZulu-Natal, they want to also start having project with the university, they can also apply as part of this program. The design measures, I've mentioned that it should be project that contributes to the development and also the of higher education, where if you want to set up and also if you want to design programs that are going to help in curriculum development. So that is also important. You can also apply for these mobility programs. There is also capacity building. Our colleagues from academic writing also mentioned that they receive funding from our colleagues at the capacity building in higher education. So also they can also participate to strengthen their higher education responsiveness. Okay, those are the focus areas in curricular governance. So also the people who qualify to apply here is only higher education entities and stakeholders that are going to work with higher education institutions. For capacity building in TVET, if you have projects as a university, you want to look at what TVETs are doing, you want to enhance or to strengthen their programs, you can apply. You are not meant to be based at the TVET college. If you are here but you're focusing on TVET, and apply for this program. As I've mentioned, is to strengthen responsiveness of the TVETs, and also it should be in other digital skills and innovation to also promote staff mobility and also students' mobility. All TVET institutions and all other partner institutions, so universities are also included in this program. The next one, I think this is the second last or the last one. This is the Jean Monnet. This one, it promotes excellence in teaching and research. This should be aligned to European Union studies. The focus area, it's a three-year module. It's on the research. If the university also is interested in forming a research center of excellence, they can apply for this one. It's only meant for the universities. And then there are also virtual exchanges. This one is focusing on the African youth. If you want to build yourself, you can apply for this one. It's virtual, as the name says, so the studies will be conducted virtually. Unfortunately, for this one, you will not be traveling. So you will be in your own accommodation, in your own location, studying abroad, studying through, virtually, so delivered virtually. So also what the Erasmus Plus is also saying is they also want to encourage movement within the sub-Saharan countries. So they are interested in at the least developed countries. So for the university to also be successful, they need to partner with the least developed countries, Lesotho, Swaziland, in order for you to, when they access the application, because we have collaborated with the least developed countries, then your chances will be more if they access your application. So that is that. For this one, you will apply on the European Commission website. The information, as I've mentioned, it will be available on our website, International Scholarship website. The call for proposal for all these opportunities will be out next month. Next month is tomorrow. So if you are interested, please have a look at our website. Then the successful candidates will be informed in August next year. And there will be a detailed information session. If you are also interested, please register for that. The information is also on our website, our social media pages. under upcoming events. So please just visit our website and register for that. Lastly, I'm going to take you through to some of the scholarship programs that are currently open. We only have 2 scholarships at the moment that are open. That is the Chevening, also closing tomorrow, and also the Swiss Excellence Government Scholarship Program. The Chevening Scholarship Program is only meant, you will be under pressure to submit your application. You can apply next year. This is our annual scholarship program. 1-year masters, taught masters at any of the UK participating universities. You should apply to 3 universities. The names of the universities, they are available on the Chevening website. So if you are interested in applying for that, go have a look at our website today or tomorrow before we remove the opportunity. Also, you need to have work experience. Work experience, you know, I was listening to previous speakers. They mentioned tutoring. Some of you were not happy with the 2.5 that they are offering you. This is for them to assist you when you apply for these opportunities, because as I have mentioned, they say they need you to have work experience. Tutoring, they take it as work experience. Studentship, being a demi, lab work, that's regarded as work experience. So please take that as a good way. Don't say you are only getting 2.5, but you can apply for these international scholarship programs. The Swiss Excellent Government Scholarship Program, that one is currently open. It is closing on the 15th of December. In order for you to apply, you also need to have contact. You've made contact with a professor at the one of the Swiss universities. The list of all the supervisors, it is available on the Swiss Embassy's website. So if you are interested, you want to pursue your studies in Switzerland, go through our website and have a look. The levels there is from PhD up until research. For PhD and masters, you should have, for PhD and research fellowships, you should have obtained your master's by next year, July. For your postdoc, you should have obtained your PhD by next year, July. The reason why, because they don't want you to offer the scholarship, and when you are being informed you're offered the scholarship, you are saying, no, I'm still busy finalizing writing up. By then, you should have your outcomes. The program, that is one of our main scholarship program, most sought after. Master's studies in the UK, annual scholarship, we are offered 28 scholarship annually. The department is the nominating agency. You apply on the Commonwealth platform. The application will go through that platform. After the closing date, the department will receive all the application. We screen application as per the requirements of the Commonwealth. Then we will nominate the 28. Usually for this scholarship, people will be asking us, they will send us email to say, please nominate me. We nominate you after you have submitted the application. The only reason for us to be able to nominate you is for you to submit a completed application. You also need to have referee reports. You must also approach 3 lecturers, or if you are employed, your supervisor. We do not want referees from your friends, your priest, or any other person who is not in academic or level. So if you want to apply for the Commonwealth, that is the only criteria. For all these scholarships, we prioritize students from previously disadvantaged communities. We prioritize students from historically disadvantaged universities. I'm sitting here, I'm standing here sharing this with you, and you qualify. By virtue of studying at UniZulu, previously disadvantaged university, you qualify. So the only thing that is stopping you from getting these opportunities is yourself, because you do not apply, you also are not aware of our website. The next one, the Chevening Scholarship, I've mentioned this one, it is closing tomorrow, Masters UK. Between the Commonwealth and the Chevening, the difference there is the Commonwealth does not support MBA programs. However, the Chevening does support, however, they have a cap amount. I forgot the amount. However, if your fees are over that amount, you will have to supplement. The France Scholarship Program, also the nominating agency. However, we sit at the selection committee. We select students. We have applied. Our partners, the French Embassy, they run this program. It's for master's studies in France, 2 years. It's a 2-year program. The beauty of this one, it has an internship program of 6 months. So you will be able to do your internship at one of the French companies. So if you are interested, next year is an annual scholarship. For this year, it's already closed. Have a look at our website, subscribe. We have a subscription service. You can subscribe. When we have available scholarship out, you will receive this information. This year, it was the SADC scholarship was launched. For this one, you need to be studying in any of the SADC universities. So if you were studying here at University of Zululand, you will qualify. We did not receive application from University of Zululand. If you want these opportunities, you also need to do something. Other students from other universities applied. We received over 40-something applications only for 2 spots, only 2 scholarships available. You can, as I mentioned, it's in any of the SADC countries. So if you want to study here but you don't want to go abroad, this is one scholarship for you. If you are not successful with the CSIR, the NRF, this is one for you. However, for this one, your essay, you need to submit an essay. The essay should be aligned to the SADC priorities. How do you want to develop SADC countries? What is it that, your essay should also link to the SADC development. So if you are interested, next year you will be pursuing your PhD in the social sciences. You can apply for that one. We also have the Mauritius Africa School of Higher Education and Training. We are the nominating agency for this scholarship program. For this one, I don't want to say you do not qualify. Maybe you qualify. We do have age limits for undergraduate. You should not be above 26. For a PhD, you should not be above 40 years. So I don't think you guys are above 40 years, so you do qualify. It's for all fields of studies at higher institutions in Mauritius. The government of Mauritius do support students with all costs. However, they will not buy you your air ticket if you are successful. They want commitment from you, the commitment being you buy your own flight ticket to Mauritius. Once you are in Mauritius, you submit your invoice to say, yes, I did fly myself in, this is my ticket, they will refund you. But the department has realized that most of the South Africans, they don't have 10,000 rand lying somewhere for a flight ticket. So we will be you that flight ticket, you fly, you just take your bags, you go to Mauritius, then you do not need to worry about that kind of thing. So also, in order for you to apply for this one, you need to pay application fee. The department will also assist you. It's around 1.5. So we also assist you with that. So if you are interested, you want to go and study in Mauritius, you can apply. Assistance is provided by the Department of Education and Training. I just mentioned when I started that we do not offer scholarship, but we do co-funding. We supplement what our partner is not providing for South Africans. The application for this one will open in December. They do have 2 calls per year. So the first one is for the April intake, and then the second one will be for the October intake. The April intake, it will open in December. So if you are interested, please apply. The Kada Asmal program, this one is for studies in Ireland, master's level. Higher historically disadvantaged universities are encouraged to apply. Women, if you are a young lady here, you want to apply, you are also encouraged. Also, if you are from the science technology field, you are also encouraged to apply. However, if you want to pursue a second master's, unfortunately, we will not consider you. There is an age cut. I'm not 100%, but it's around 30-something years of age. So if you are above that age, unfortunately, you will not be considered. Lastly, I'm going to give you more information on our two flagship scholarship program. These two scholarship program, when I was listening to the presentation by my colleague from the CSIR, that's what we do. We offer you funding, we supplement of, the partner countries offer you funding, the department supplementary. We also provide psychosocial support. You will also have a dedicated person. When you have challenges, you just pick up your phone, you call that person, the person will be able to respond to your queries. So the Chinese government scholarship program, this is one of the oldest scholarship programs that the department has been involved with. It's from bachelor's up until PhD. Also, if you want to go and study Chinese language, maybe you want to be, I've seen recently on Twitter teaching Chinese or teaching, it will also assist if you want to go there so that you'll be able to buy bread when you are at the shops. And also, the government of the Chinese government will provide tuition fees for you. They will provide accommodation, and they will also provide the stipend, monthly stipend. The department will top it up. The department will also provide you with traveling from South Africa to China. If you are doing your PhD more than 3 years, we will also fly you back middle of your studies to come see your parents. Most of the scholarships, they only provide once off flight when you go and when you come back. So with the department, middle of your studies, we will also provide you with a midterm flight. The Stipendium Hungaricum Scholarship is one of our main scholarship programs as well. Annually, we are offered 100 scholarships. If you want to go and study in Hungary, it's in Europe. You can also apply for the scholarship. The programs are in English, so there you do not have a challenge of language. And we also provide all the support that has been mentioned by other colleagues. And if you want to pursue medicine, we are in talks with the HPCSA, Health Professional Council of South Africa, because students who've been studying medicine abroad have had challenges coming upon completion of their studies because the HPCSA does not recognize the qualification. So once that conversation, we are done with that conversation, we have cleared everything, we will be sending our first cohort of medical students to Hungary interested in veterinary medicine. You can also apply for the scholarship program. It's a 5-year program. Everything will be covered for you. We have mentioned our target is underrepresented communities, also historically disadvantaged universities. You should be able to prove to us that you do deserve this opportunity. Other colleagues has mentioned, you submit motivation. You should strengthen your motivation. Please use all the services that are offered at the university. Use your writing centers. If you are not able to write a motivation, go to them, ask them to check for you, not for them to write your motivation. You need to write the motivation, but for them to assist you with strengthening that, so that at the end of the day, you are successful. Remember, I've mentioned that all of these programs, we do get numbers of scholarships, but we do not meet our targets annually. Where to find us? We have a website where all this information is published, the internationalscholarship.dhe.gov.za. That's our website address. We are also present on social media platforms. You are more than welcome to send us a week. We also have webinars, monthly webinars, where we share more of our scholarships. We go in detail of what is required from you. Also, for the two flagship scholarship programs, we also have a pre-departure orientation where we prepare you for studying abroad. I went through the presentation as quickly as I can. I hope I stick to my 5 minutes.
Thank you very much for the presentation, a very informative presentation. We will subscribe. So after this, we'll have to discuss with you so that we can put it on our research office website for subscription and how our students can get it. The next and the last speaker is Dr. Tozani Mncube from Umhlatuze Water, who's going to just be presenting the opportunities that Umhlatuze Water has that you can think of and how they're going to be supporting us. Thank you very much.
Good day, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming to this gathering of Imbizo. My name is Dr. Mncube. I work from Umhlatuze, and I'm a manager for research, development, and innovation. So, without wasting much of time, I think first of all, I would like to first start with the postgraduate forum. I used to study at the Durban University of Technology. In 2011, we started postdoctorate forum, and I think the youngsters that are doing something similar are doing a wonderful job, and we were able to address some of the issues. If you go to DUT now, most of the things that are now gains for postdoctorate were actually started by us. At that time, in 2011, the institution was supposed to have 1,700 postdoc, and the institution was sitting about 383 postdoc, and then unfortunately 300 of them were the staff. And that's why the students were lacking the supervisor and all of that. But we were able to make gains there. Now, the other things, I was also a chairperson of, when I was studying in Czech Republic, I was sort of like representing the South African student. We were sort of understanding what are the challenges in the postdoctorate level and so on. Now, that actually helped me when I'm coming back to South Africa to actually develop the system that will actually benefit the RDI department at Umhlatuze Water. Now, Umhlatuze Water is a state-owned institution. We're one of the 3 water boards in KZN, and the minister wants to combine all the water boards to form one water board in the province. As we speak, the research next year is going to be about 75 million. So that means it's going to be major opportunities in terms of research. At this point in time, Umhlatuze Water is only operating on the northern part of KZN. Now, I won't go through to a vision and mission, but these are the sort of the stakeholders that we work with. We supply backwater, offshore disposal of waste. We do operation and maintenance of the water treatment and also wastewater. Industries are also our client. Institutions are also our clients. So what we have started at Umhlatuze Water, the research and development unit is starting. So unlike rainwater, unlike the Mgeni water, the research and development has been there for a very long time. So at Umhlatuze, as we speak, we already have 36 students who are actually financed by Umhlatuze Water, meaning but the one that benefited the full scholarship is only 12. So full scholarship meaning we cover everything, including the stipend and the rest. But we want to increase that. But hopefully, since we are matching with other water boards, we'll probably increase that number going forward. We do have also employment opportunities. We do have research collaboration. We already sign up with 4 institutions in the KZN. But however, as time goes on, we'll be in a position of signing with all 21 institutions in the country. We do have internship program, learnership, and candidates program. Now, when it comes to RDI, my unit, we have separated research into 2 parts. We have RDI strategy project, then we have 4IR project. But with the University of Zululand, we only sign up with the RDI strategy. We're still going to include the 4IR strategy. But the challenge that we are experiencing, let me start with the challenge that we are experiencing abroad. How long is the lag time of the education system, how long it takes? How long it takes to change the curriculum, if I may ask? Okay, all of us, we change cell phone every 2 years, right? Okay. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. What, 5 years? Okay. How long the curriculum of education system changes? So I understand. These are the dynamics that we are experiencing. We found that as the industries, when we employ people, we first train them before we could give them the responsibilities. So in the RDI unit, we wanted to grow people within the research, but we have taken a decision to say we must take students as an internship, then we develop going forward. Same as that, we are planning to do much recruit next year for people who will be doing research, because the challenges that we are experiencing is that we have a traditional classroom delivery system that is sort of theoretical knowledge driven as compared to an innovative system. So what I have seen when I was studying in Czech Republic, I found out that the Czech postdoctorate is a research work, is a coursework, and then students develop the prototype. Now in South Africa, it's only a research work, and students are only publishing document, can't develop the product. And these are the challenges that we sort of like experiencing. So as Mhlathuze, when we then design a system to say how we then go about providing a better support, we then realize that as a country, what we are not growing, as a country, we're growing much of the carriers that are within the support system. You know, support function now what? Okay. Do you understand the economical carriers? You don't? Okay. The economical core carrier is manufacturing, meaning is technical subjects. Those are economy. So if you have to look at why Africa haven't grown as compared to Asia, you begin to realize that Asia invested heavily on the technical carriers. Those are the core of the economy. Because once you grow the economy, once you grow the manufacturing, that means you're automatically growing the economy. But what is happening in South Africa, our system is geared in such a way that it produces more of the support function. Support function, doctors, police, nurse, all of that are support function of the core function. Without manufacturing, the people will lose an employment, especially when you grow much of a support function. So as Mhlathuze, we then decided to say we will then be in a position where we put more funding on the economical core function. So if I would have to make an example with this graph, some of you will understand what is Industrial Revolution 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? Okay. Our education system is designed for the first and second industrial revolution. But as I was working as a process engineer at petrochem industry, and I work in the water sector, what I have seen with this institution, I found that they're 60 or 70 years apart. Meaning the petrochem industry have the latest technology, and the water sector is still way behind. Now, we then say that in order for us to grow the organization, we should then focus in developing much on the fourth industrial revolution and third industrial. So most of our research topic, that's why when we sign this MOU with the different institutions, we will sort of provide the research topic, because we want the research topic that can be implemented rather than financing the research topic that will never yield to anything. That is going to go for general knowledge, let me put it that way. So what we have seen as a country, we're seeing that there's the unemployment, it keep on increasing because the opportunities of the first and second industrial revolution are declining. So there are opportunities like Standard Bank. Standard Bank, when they retrench, of the tailor, people were doing tailor in Standard Bank because today we go to an ATM and deposit and withdraw. So those people were then retrenched. Guess what happened? Same company, Standard Bank, went to India and employ people who could do cyber security and so on because Indian technology is Indian education system is more advanced. So we sort of, us as an institution, to say, let's grow the research in that area. Now, these are the types of research we wanted to engage when we partner with institution. We have a material domain, and these are different types of research. And we have also, we wanted to do biotech research, and we wanted to do the digital domain research. What happened is, if we do a benchmarking with Rand Water, they have what they call it Rand Water Institute. So Rand Water Institute is the infrastructure with all these different types of researchers who are doing research. So as Mhlatuze and Ngeni also, or KZN Water Board wants to go and do the same thing so that we grow individually within the organization. So that means we will employ the postdoctorate to come and do research. Then from the research, we then develop within the organization. Because we have realized that most of what we recruit doesn't give us the advantage because they have learned or studied, I would say, an old way of solving problems. Now, in closing, yes, as Mhlatuze, we are growing the research and development. Every year we recruit different types of students from FETs, universities, and we do recruit in the post-doc level. But when it comes to the research and development, we have signed up the relationship with the other different types of institutions. And this year we will sign an SLA with the University of Zululand, and we're probably thinking that maybe 4 or 5 of the students will benefit from that. But going forward, we wanted to increase or double that amount. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Minube, for your presentation. Because of time, I would like to take questions. Just 3 questions for our presenters. I think other questions, colleagues, once we leave, we can pass by the stores. There is information that we can just pass by and ask them further questions, direct questions. If there are any questions before we go into our competition. Everyone is tired, no questions, okay. Very much understandable. Okay, I think let's, there's a question. Is that online present as well? Okay. Oh, yes, okay. I think that one, yes, Dr. Lindoshe, that is here, yes. She's still here, yes. You can ask the question.
Okay, thank you. My question, well, it's a clarification. I think you mentioned something about dedicating funds to COVID-19 research. So I just want to find out from you, is it publications that are your focus or the data? Because most of literature shows that most of the research done on COVID-19 is actually, most of the data that is available is actually on, is openly available, right? So is the data on COVID-19 going to be readily available? There won't be any paywalls or anything. It's just going to be freely available to anyone, as is the practice now.
Thank you very much for the question. I think that's the only question. Dr. Lindo, did you get the question?
Sorry. Hello.
Dr. Ndlala?
Sorry. Hello. Yes. Hello.
Okay, there's another one, yes. While we are waiting for Dr. Ndlala to, yes.
Sorry, I'd like to ask Ms. Joyce the same question that I asked the librarian.
Are you aware of any money that the Department of Higher Education pays an institution for every paper that is published by students?
Please tell us your question.
Oh, are you aware of any money that is paid by the Department of Higher Education to the institution for every paper that is published? Thank you.
Can I also maybe assist Mr. Mangaile to answer the question after Ms. Joy?
Okay, thank you very much. Linda, are you ready for answering the question? Okay, we can proceed, Prof. Chidi, because we don't, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, ma'am, yes.
Mainly the funding of clinical trials. We've already seen results on that, like data on that, and also on diagnostics. We also funded research related to COVID-19 response. But I think we have seen, most of it we have seen data on it already. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Prof. Chidi, for to be interrupted.
No problem. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am, there is money that we get from the head whenever you publish an accredited article, journal article, in an accredited journal, we receive a subsidy as the university. And that subsidy is managed by the research office. So if you can go to Ms. Falyon, Daniela Falyon, in the research office, she will explain to you as to what is the support that they have for students through their supervisors on how you can utilize if ever it happened that you published an article. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Chidi. Thank you very much. And I'd like to appreciate our speakers. You've traveled and you are here, and the passion and the information that you've given us really goes on. And so we'd like to thank you. We will be meeting with you as the research office to take contact so that we can update our website. And if you've got any questions from our funders, you can come to our research office. We can give you contact if you need anything on that regard. So thank you very much. And then it comes to the interesting part of our competition. So in our competition, we're just going to do, this is for the accommodation. And then we're going to do also, so for those who have not won the room, we will be giving them something as well. We'll be pulling names. So we'll just do it quickly and then we call it, then we request Prof. Chidi to do a closing. This one is for the room, so if I had the drums. And the winner is, with a partner, Nozipho Mbuyazi. Nozipho, please come up. Nozipho. You are not allowed to sell this room. You have to sleep in this. You're not allowed to sell it. Someone must protect it. Someone must protect her. And then we go again. So what is going to happen now is if I pull your name, you just raise your hand where you are. So they will bring the bag to you. Oh, you wanted a picture? It's not a room anymore. Kukungobesa? Thembi Nkosi Mkhize. Thembi Nkosi Mkhize, are you here? Raise your hand. Then, if he's not here, then we move. Tobegile Shange. Ndumiso Ndima. How many are there? Nompumelelo Makoba. How many left? Sinethemba Cele. Everyone is a winner. Everyone is a winner today. Mbuyiselo Mlaba. Ungene kanjani? Oh, student, okay. Alumni. What? Nathi Kulu. How many bags? 3. Khethiwe Nkwanyana. Lungelo Mdletshe. And then the last one, Sipho Kunene. Thank you very much. I'd love to call the last person to do a closing for us, Professor Chili, who will be doing closing for today's session. But thank you very much for winning so many things. And someone must protect the person who won the room.
Okay, Sanbonan. Are you guys still alive? Oh, that's good. That's good. What an informative event. I think we need to give a round of applause to the organizers. Seriously, they have done a wonderful job in organizing this particular event. You know, I know it is the first time we are having postgraduate Imbizo, but it shows that as much as it is the first time, but we are actually getting it right, and we know that we will improve in the next round. So without wasting any time, I know we don't have much time. I will just thank the speakers who were present today as those who presented visually. Firstly, I will start by thanking our external stakeholders. Firstly, I will start with the guest speaker, Professor Morton from Stellenbosch University. I think he did a wonderful job in presenting to us, and we learned a lot from him. It is unfortunate that he presented online. Then I would also like to thank, maybe if we can give Professor Morton a round of applause, please. I also like to thank our funders, because I said I will start with external stakeholders. Our funders who presented here in the podium, those who presented visually, as well as those who were here, you know, taking their time, flying here at University of Zululand and discuss with us. Sorry, colleagues. I know you are very excited because you just received your gift. If you can just give me some more 5 minutes, please. Okay. So I was saying I want to thank our funders, especially NRF,
Dr. Nango, who presented on NRF funding, Dr. Ndandla, who presented visually from SAMRC, as well as Mr. Justice Kombane, who is from CSIR. He's here with us. Ms. Joy Nongabe from DHEAD, you know, she gave a very detailed, comprehensive presentation on the opportunities that you can actually take to study abroad, international opportunities. So that was very informative. And also I would like to thank Dr. Mnube from Umhlatuza Water. You see, colleagues, I was actually very jealous because most of these funders, they are from science field. So maybe going forward, Mr. Mangele, please ensure that you also get funders from different disciplines as well, social sciences, as well as commerce and law, so that we can accommodate all our students. But we really thank the information, the informative presentation that were delivered by these particular funders. And I hope you as students, you will take this opportunity, use it, ensure that you visit their website and you apply. Can we give them a round of applause? Okay, then I move to internal stakeholders. We open with our DVC. I know she was not here. They played her video, but really I want to thank the support of Professor Gunene as the DVC of Research and Innovation Office. She has been supporting this office since she started her position of being a DVC. So I think she deserves a round of applause in her absentia. I thank Prof. Shokane from Human Sciences and from Humanities and Social Sciences faculty, the Deputy Dean, and also all the Deputy Deans who were present here, which include Professor Moyo as well as Professor Kamete. I know Prof. Kes has other engagement, but I'm sure he wanted to be with us as well. I'd like to thank the presentation that was done by Bishop Makanya from Pastoral Care Units on mental wellness. Also the presentation by Professor Nerish Revaprasadu, which I think it was very informative, and I think you guys were able to learn a lot from it. Also to thank our Postgraduate Association, POSCA, you know, to introduce yourself, ensure that the postgraduate students, they know you. Whenever they want to talk to you, you are actually accessible. So really, we really appreciate your presence and the presentation that you have shared with us as well. Also, the international office. The international office, it was represented by Mr. Mdleje. Mr. Mdleje, we really appreciate your presence, as well as Bishop Makanya is also part of the international office. So we really appreciate them. The Teaching and Learning Center that was presented, that was actually represented by the director who presented in this podium, Professor Mabusela. We really appreciate your support, and you have been working with the research office in organizing this particular event. So we appreciate your office, Professor Mabusela. CMD, you know, they've been here since the morning. So we really appreciate their support, taking the pictures, ensuring that we trend even on social media. So thank you very much, CMD. Also the library. You know, there were two colleagues who came here, Ms. Zanele as well as Mr. Biela. They shared very detailed information as well, a presentation on the support of the library, open access journals, and so forth. So thank you very much for your support, library, and we hope that you will continue having a relationship with the research office to ensure that you enhance these particular postgraduate students. So thank you very much. We appreciate you. And you know, colleagues, she's still here up until this time. So can we give her a round of applause, please? Then, colleagues, seriously, I wouldn't do justice if I don't thank the research office team. Okay, let me also check before the research office team, let me thank Umfolo's Casino, let me thank Jack there at the back for your sound. I know there were technical glitches, but then he was always there. You know, he was always available to assist whenever there were those glitches. So we really thank you, Jack. We thank the casino as well. I think Nell was actually presenting the casino. Thank you very much for the services that you have provided to us. Then, colleagues, the research office team, starting by Mr. Manele, who is actually leading the postgraduate office. Because Mr. Manele, I think when he was introducing himself, he said he's Mr. Manele, he will be the program director, and he is responsible for research ethics. Okay, so on top of research ethics, he is also responsible for postgraduate studies. So Mr. Manele is the manager of research ethics and postgraduate studies. And Mr. Manele is the one who came up with this particular initiative of hosting postgraduate Imbizo. So I think really he deserves a round of applause. Okay, guys, you all know that for a person to be successful in whatever he or she is planning, he needs a team. He or she will need to work with a team. So Mr. Manele was not working alone. He was working with a team that is actually working very hard. We have seen them running around since the morning. The organizing team comprises of Mr. Mbona. I know Mr. Mbona, I didn't see him today, but he was involved in planning this particular event, which was of, a success. Mr. Mbona, Lungile, Mhlengi, as well as Ntobeko. Can we please give them a round of applause? Then besides this organizing team, we also have other staff members from the research office who were very active today. From the morning when I arrived in the registration desk, they were there giving us a warm welcome with a smile, giving us our tags, which include Noma Shoba, Daniela Felion, Zintle. Zintle has been very running around all of the day. Bonisiwe Ndlovu, who is actually responsible for research and innovation in the research office, IP and innovation in the research office. So I think, colleagues, it shows teamwork, that all these people, they work together to ensure that this event, at the end of the day, it's succeed. And I will not forget about our interns. There are 3 research interns, Ketani, Zintle, as well as Sandiwe. Can we please give them a round of applause? Thank you very much, colleagues. Really, your hard work, it shows today that you were supporting Mr. Manele from the beginning and until today. So please continue doing that. Then lastly, yourself, colleagues, yourself, our postgraduate student, you have been very good audience. And thank you very much for staying up to this time. Mr. Manele, next time we want a 2 days program. Seriously, it was, as much as it was comprehensive, informative, but it was too much to grasp everything. So at least split it to 2 days program. Thank you very much, colleagues. Okay.
Thank you very much, Prof. NgesiZulu kuthiwa unesihloka. You covered everything.